Hey everyone. Hopefully this is going. I am a wee bit late. I I was taking a nap and I should know better than to take naps right before live streams because like any other time I take a nap, I am very slow to wake up and get going. So plus I had to uh give Scamper and Sidonia their medicine because they usually get a dose of something around 6 or 7 o'clock, and I just want to make sure I wasn't too late getting it to them, as I don't know how long this will go. So wanted to go ahead and track them down. Hi, Brooke. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, I am here. I don't know if well is the way to describe how I feel right now. I appreciate it. Would hope I was doing well too. I don't like I said, I don't know if well is the way to describe it. I'm just kind of surviving. I'm here. I'm here actually doing a live stream, which is usually a good sign. I don't do these very often, so if I feel up to one, generally, I guess I'm doing better than usual. So, hi, Valerie. Hi, Funky Light Tachikawa. Hi, Danielle. Welcome. Hi, Monique. Thanks everyone for joining. And I typically do giveaways during these streams. I don't think we'll do one tonight. I really just kind of wanted to do a low key color and chat, maybe update y'all on some developments that have happened this week. If anything, my life kind of feels like it's constantly changing right now. So, but hopefully I'll be able to do a giveaway soon. It will require me to go through my collection. I have bought so many new books. Like between August and now in the past 6 months, like my new book buying has been worse than ever. So, I probably really do need to go through my collection. The good news is I am close to finishing a number of books, mostly color by number, of course. And so if I can push myself to finish some books, at least then I guess I won't feel so guilty about buying all these new books, especially when my coloring has dropped off so much recently. So, hi, Kim. Hi, Melissa. And hello to Emily's Coloring Corner. Um, Hi, Loretta, or Demon Keeper, on here. Yes, you did make it. I was, in fact, the late one today. I was saying earlier, I decided to lay down for a bit before the stream just because pretty much mid late afternoon naps are kind of becoming my one of my survival pieces. One of my mini tools in my survival toolkit is late afternoon naps when I can swing them. And my weekends are a lot of recovery anyway, and so I was just slow to get up from my nap, and so I was coming in here and scrambling because I didn't have anything ready. So, um, so what I'm gonna do today while we're chatting, I mentioned doing this, and I know Tammy from Tammy Colors Too is also mentioned doing this. I don't normally color a lot of mandalas, but since I bought the color cubes from Sarah Renee Clark, I've been thinking a lot about tackling my mandala books and maybe getting some more and using like the color palettes in the color cube for the mandalas. So I thought tonight would be a good night to start that. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. We'll just pick a random palette out of here instead of just starting with the first one, and then I think I'm going to use the magic box markers that I've been using for the last couple pages, the ones I used last weekend. Um, and speaking of which, so when I'm talking about, let me check the chat real quick. Oh, okay. Oh, the Daytona 500. Very cool. Yeah, I have a lot of Camellia Angelkova books. I think I only have the two. I have two mandala books. I have this one. Maybe I put it back. I have her nighttime mandalas too, and I thought about doing that one, but that one's a little more complicated. Like the mandalas are a little more complex. So I thought with these being like 4 to 5 different colors, I thought the clover mandalas plus we're kinda on the stretch from Valentine's Day to St. Patrick's Day. So the clover mandalas is a good one to be coloring in this time of year. So the magic I'm calling them the magic box markers. I don't really know 100% what to call them, but they're the markers that I talked about in my coloring chat last weekend that come in this big case here, and that they say magic box on the side in this like really cool case. And I've been coloring like 3 or 4 pages with them and they seem like really nice markers. I actually finally did a color chart on them. And what I liked, so I wouldn't say these are good markers for like if you're trying to blend um because a lot of the colors wind up being super close to each other, but if you're just looking for like basic markers for like color by number, or like me, you like to color images and then do like a dark outline or something on the mem marker. These have worked really well for me. They remind me the colors a bit of the Tau Tree marker set, though there's a lot more markers. I ended up if you can see down here, all I had were the warm grays left. So it's like 160 markers, I think is actually what it comes out to. So, like I said, the marker caps don't match well with the actual swatches, but that's not unusual for budget friendly markers. And this is what they look like. They say touch cocoa on them. That's why I'm saying I don't really know what to call these markers. There are a bunch of different names, but I feel like I think I paid about 40 US for the box for 160 markers in like actually really nice case, and they have little like plastic stands in them so you can easily set the markers in them. They've been a pretty solid choice honestly for and if I run out of like oranges, I have a whole lot other types of light oranges. They had really nice fluorescence. Like these are really good if you burn through markers and you need other colors. So we're gonna use those tonight. The big pool. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, Loretta. That's what I was thinking. I was like, isn't the Daytona fight? Aren't the races usually on Sundays? But that makes sense. Um, hey Ren, welcome. Yes, I miss you too. I don't know if you saw, I actually did our buddy color that we said we were gonna do a few months back. I did that I think it was a couple weeks ago, Ren. I'm sorry. It's been chaos here. It's been really rough. Hi Haley. Welcome. Let me check out the chat here. That's a good idea, Loretta. Yeah, rate hikes on electricity, that sounds familiar. Oh, okay, great. I feel better about that, Ren. Um, uh, I was like I said, I had 3 buddy colors that were long term. It was yours, it was, Kathy from Spicy Cat Colors, which I finished, that was the one I showed you guys that, it's a Christmas one. And then I still got one with Tammy that I need to, check in with her about. We're just about done with the Baby Dragons book. We got like 3 pictures left, so I'd really like to finish that one this year. It's been a thing. But hi, Haley. I'm glad you were able to join at least for a few minutes. I I don't know. I I guess I'm doing as I was saying earlier, I'm doing well enough for a live stream, and usually I have to be feeling pretty good for a live stream, so I guess I'm doing a little better, but we had some developments this week I figured I'd talk about tonight. And I had a big announcement come from my company last night regarding one of our policies that I'm still trying to work through. Trying to figure out a way to talk about that without saying too much. So it's been a thing. We're still just surviving here, so we're hanging in there. Haley, I hope you're doing well too. Oh, wrestling. Well, I appreciate that, Danielle. Yeah, I mean, this was very last minute. I figured a lot of people wouldn't be able to show up last minute. I had alluded to this earlier this week, but I really just didn't know till I woke up this morning what I was going to do. So that's totally cool. I figured some people just either wouldn't be able to make it or had plans. So for those of y'all that, have other things y'all need to do. I completely understand. I do really appreciate that you at least stop by to say hi. That always means a lot when you guys do that. So, um, and I think I saw upstream Kim say that uh Danny Buttons is also live streaming. So that's cool. Hi Emily, welcome back. Like I said, there's some people that, were probably live streaming and stuff. This is just I either the best times for me to live stream are either for kind of early in the day on Saturday or this time of day. Sunday, I'm like dreading the return of the work week, so I'm not typically in the mood to live stream on Sundays. So Saturdays, I actually thought about doing it during a weeknight last week, but again, Saturday nights are just comfortable for me, and again, mine are very last minute because they are so dependent on my mood, so it's one of those things of it's casual around here. I'm being very casual about it. And like I said, I know I'm not doing any giveaways tonight, so that's probably gonna drop off a lot of people who like the giveaways, which is fine. I do like as I said, I'd like to do another one soon. I just honestly didn't have the time to pull the books for tonight that I want to get rid of and just wanted to just talk, I guess, instead of doing our giveaway uh bonanza that we normally do around here. So, oh, okay. Oh, the Cuban mandala thing. Okay, sorry, Kim. That's what you meant. Yep. It seems like that is a really good idea. So I guess you'll see multiple colorists doing that during the year. Thanks, Kim. Sorry. My brain today. Woo boy. My brain lately. Anyway, I wanted to show you guys. So the Magic Box markers. I did a color and chat in Easy Spring by Joshua Dunbar last weekend. The biggest thing I wanted to see is if these markers are going to yellow, because that is the biggest headache that I have with markers. And so this is a picture I did last weekend, and I put in this piece of paper in the front just to make sure it's not going to yellow. So far, you guys can see it's clean. And I used a orangish red brown. Usually this type of color will really yellow a page. And you can't really see it on this side because this was a blotter page, but like I don't see any real evidence of yellowing. If it was going to do it, it would have done it on the front too. So good news so far on that. And then the Kauai page that I just posted on Instagram last night, I used these same markers and did this cute little page. I love the dinosaur. This has got some other marker on it, but so far I'm not seeing any yellowing. I'm not going to be able to see it on this side. Nothing other than the purple actually on this side. So yeah, I think that these markers are actually good in that they're not going to yellow as far as I can tell, and that was my biggest concern. So good news there. I when I do the final pages at the end of the month, At the end of this month, I will probably do a big, well, it won't be big because I haven't colored very much. From, like, October to now, all my finished pages, because that's how long it's been since I've done a finished pages. And it's still not gonna be a huge stack, but I'm finally starting to color pretty consistently this week. It has and that's probably one of the reasons I'm live streaming because I am coloring and it's helping and I'm feeling better because of it. But now that I'm finally back to consistently coloring, the haul videos, the end of the month coloring videos, like the typical videos that I usually do should come along. It's just the consistency is going to be the key. There are just going to be some weeks at work that I just cannot mentally get it together enough to do a lot of videos. So, my consistency is going to be the key piece here, but we'll just run with it and see how long I feel good enough to post videos. So, I'm used to you, Kim. Yes, yes, you are. My brain. Oh, cool, Brooke. What are we getting at the grocery store? Hi, Colorful Dreams. Welcome. Hopefully, I didn't miss anybody. But oh yes, Easy Spring is like the cutest book and the kawaii book too. I actually really love the newest books from Joshua Dunbar and Alexandra Franzese. I The cool thing is now that I felt more compelled to color, I'll get started here in a minute. Like I said, this is gonna be very casual. We will do this at some point. Um, I felt compelled to color, and because I'm not it's one of the bonuses of not I hate that I didn't do Foxy February this month, but in a way, I also feel a little it has helped a lot with me trying to get back into coloring because I feel like I can actually color in my new books. I don't have a tag that I'm trying to pigeonhole my coloring into. I can just color. I mean, I could do that anytime, but I mean, in my head, Michelle policing herself. If I had a tag, I would feel like I'd have to color something. Everything would need to apply to the tag. And so now I'm free to kind of color what I want this year. And that's been a little freeing. I think that's helped a lot with me getting back into coloring is all these new fun books I'm getting and the thing in my head going, Michelle, you're buying a lot of books and you're not doing any coloring in them. Let's put some let's do some coloring in them if you're gonna buy them. So I am pleased. Like I said, I think coloring has really helped me manage this week. It has helped me kind of chill a little bit, and thus, again, why I have felt in better and well enough to do a chat. So, um, sorry, I'm scrolling up. Yeah, Ren, you were talking about uh how many pages you have this month. Yeah, I might actually have 10 pages this month myself as well. But that has been a high since October. I colored a lot in October, but early on, and then things got crazy and I just never went back to, like, it was a bunch of Halloween coloring and then I never went back to it. So, um Loretta, me and your laptop are of one. I don't do well with multitasking either, so I completely understand. Loretta, you've been putting out some real pretty pictures lately. I've been seeing them on Instagram, and it looks like you're having a lot of fun with them, so I love to see it. Emily saying, I'm trying to slowly get back into coloring, learning shading techniques and such. One thing I'm doing, it's a little bit of an expense each month, but Kit and Clouder has classes that they do each month where they'll feature like a pencil page, and I think they have a free class too, but they have like where you pay a subscription, you can opt for both classes during the month or just one, but they have like a color pencils page and they have a marker page. And I started subscribing to that, of course, 3 or 4 months ago, and haven't done hardly any of them, because I wanted to get a little bit better with my pencil shading, and I really love, like, their pencil pictures, and I actually had printed out their page for the month. I'll show you guys, and I'll put I don't know, I might try to put a link in the chat, but, where did it go? Come here. I just saw you. Okay, yeah, so, like, this is their pencil page this month. It's, like, a couple tigers, and they also have a marker page that they do. And I started one months ago, started one of their pencil pages and, then got distracted and, got off track with it. But I'm kinda hoping that will get me back a little bit more into using pencils. So, yeah, Haley, I watched one of your videos the other day, and I noticed you said that, like, your semester this year, like, the first half of the semester is really, really heavy work-wise, college work-wise. So, um hopefully hopefully things will slow down for you next month. So, Brooke, I'm a little behind. Sorry, guys. So Brooke is looking for dinner supplies. Oh, Brooke, we need a meal plan. It would be so easy for us, and I really should take the time to do it. But man, sometimes you just have so much energy, and like when it comes to the week, and you're like, Eh, the one thing I just never seem to find time for is to actually just sit and meal plan, and I think we should do it more often because we always wind up during the week being like, "I don't know what to cook," and we always end up cooking the same, like, 5 things. So it would be a we just did a big grocery shop last weekend, so we have plenty to make a variety of meals, and we really should. So, yeah, Valerie, like I said, I've done 2, 3. I've done about maybe 5 or 6 pages this month, maybe 7, and that's the most I've done since, like, October, so I've been really pleased with it. Honestly, I'm gonna be a bit slower than I used to be. I was averaging there for a long time, like 25 pages a month, and just with this job, there's just I don't anticipate even getting that many anymore, but, finding a compromise. It's all what works for you. So, oh my gosh, Kim. So I bought these drawers. I don't think I told you guys. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. I want to run through these, but oh yeah, Haley, you're almost done. I realized that just now as well because I bet I bet you're ready to be done, Haley, but then you're also kind of like, at least I was. My senior year of college, I was so ready. I was so done. But it's also something for 4 years you're used to, so it's also kind of like not scary, but it's a little shocking to realize that you're almost done as well. So, Loretta, the complicated books, yeah, like my simplicity's been the key for me right now. Picking colors is the thing I've been struggling the most with, which is why I'm gonna try to do this tonight. Let's see. Look at my Instagram, will do, Kim. Thank you, Emily, on the thumbs up reminder. Oh, thanks for letting me know, Colorful Dreams. I will check that out on your Instagram. Ooh, off work all next week, Ren. Awesome, awesome. Phew, God, the idea of just being off, like, I just every weekend I say this, and I will say this every weekend from time on end, is I get so exhausted during the week that I need my 2 days on the weekend to just recover enough to get through the next week. Boy, if I had a 3-day weekend, like, if I had a 4-day work week and a 3-day weekend, I just feel like that 3rd day, I could really do just I could color, I could play video games, I could do the things I wanna do, like, I could get rested up those first 2 days, and it just every week it feels that way. I just never have enough time. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started on this. As I said, a lot of us, I think, on YouTube are doing this. This is one of the color cubes from Sarah Renee Clark with her palettes. I didn't want to print them out on the printer because I don't have a color printer. So honestly, it was probably just it probably I didn't really look at color printing, but at the end of the day, I figured I'd just splurge for the boxes and the palettes rather than trying to get them color printed and bound or anything like that. So we're going to pick a random palette out of here for a mandala. And because I want to be different and I don't want to start the first one. And interestingly, we picked a very dark one. I don't know how I feel about that. Let's put that back. I want to pick something with a little bit of a brightness to it. Ooh, that one's fun. I like that. That makes very citrusy, very orangey. Let's do this. And this will help me show some of the shades on the markers. So let's pull this over here. I think 94 will work for that one. See, this is one of the reasons I really like these cards in this because I can very easily put them up against the markers. So 24. Is that 24? Oh boy, these caps do not. These caps do not match the actual colors very well. Or is that? No. Let's go with 32. And 33. Like I said, a lot of these shades look very close to each other. Let's do 44 on that one. It'll be slightly brighter, but I think that'll be cool. It ain't gotta be super exact. And 49. All right. And basically, I'm just gonna start the outside and I'll just mix these up. And we'll just randomly work our way in. It will be an orange mandala. There we go. And I can hopefully work on this, at least get a little bit of it while we are chatting. So, hopefully. That was the plan. That was the plan. So, all right, let's see. Scroll back here. Cool. Kim, I will look at that. Yeah, the color cubes. So they took forever to get here because I remember I ordered them in like May or June, and I don't think they shipped out till October. But Sarah Renee Clark, I believe, is an Australian artist. And so it took her a while to get them in warehouses to be able to ship. And I think probably due to just COVID and everything, there were probably shipping delays anyway. So it took a long time to get them into the US warehouses to actually get shipped out. So then by the time I got them in October, it was right when I just about to stop coloring. So I haven't really used them that much. I like them. My only issue is that a lot of times when I do a palette and I pick colors, I pick more than 5 colors. And so a lot of times these are a starting point for me. I will pick out the 5 colors for a picture and then I typically pick out a few more. In this case, I'm not going to do it with the mandala, but I typically pick out a few more just because I don't feel like 5 colors is enough for me usually. Now if I'm using shades of these colors, it's a little different, but I like them. The pictures are nice and crisp. Um, what's cool on this side, if I'm not mistaken, these are the hex colors, the hex numbers for the colors. You think I would know with HTML background, web design background, but I think that's what these are. But like they show the different shades, like a light, medium, dark version of it and such. And I do have the downloaded version that has where like some of the palettes that shows what the Prismacolor pencils would be and such for a few of the colored pencil brands and I think marker brands. But like I would use these first and then go consult that. So I like it. Loretta, my printer's out of ink. I that was a huge problem for me. I was able it's been about 5 or 6 years ago. I splurged, one year I was able to splurge a bit for a laser printer, and that has been a huge like because we buy the toner, like the big toner cartridges for it. It's a Brother, brand, and it's only black and white, but, like, we can get 1,000 pages per thing of toner at least, so um mine used to run out of ink all the time before I did that, so but yeah, I mean, I like the color cubes. Um, I haven't used them a ton, so I fully can't say, like, how I feel about them. But, like, I feel like they're a good supplement. If you like something to pick your colors for you, I think they're great. Like I said, for me, when I do a page, I tend to pick more than the 5 colors that are on there, so they're good starting point for me, basically, so, do, do. And, like, it's really easy, I think, Night Owl, this is what you're saying, like, a lot of palettes are before I got these, and I'll still do it. A lot of times I would find good palettes online, on like Pinterest and Google searching and stuff. Again, I think these are nice to have, but I don't use them like all the time. But I haven't been coloring a lot lately, but I don't think I'll use them super heavily. But they're just I think they're nice to have. But if you know how to look for palettes on Google for free and stuff, like, I mean, I would use my money for other things if I had let's put it this way. If I had so much money and I could use it on like markers or pencils or more books or this, I would spend it on more markers, more books, whatnot. Um, because of my new job, I was able to splurge a bit. So this is what I call a splurge item, is the way I would put it. Hey, a view is view. Welcome. Oh no, Rex happening. Digital coloring app numbers. Oh, okay. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, Valerie, I do that too. Like, okay, so now I can get started. I feel like I've nicely caught up. So these are bullet and chisel tip markers. That was really I've been leaning more towards brush tip. I'd rather start with a different color. Really, I've been leaning towards getting more brush tip markers, but again, these are really good for filling in, chisel tips are really good for filling in big spaces. So, since these are kind of my, um, let me make sure I put a page behind this. Yeah, these definitely do bleed through. It's funny when I first used them on the Joshua Dunbar page, they were kind of squeaky. And like, I didn't feel like they had a ton of ink in them, but I think it may have just been some of the markers I was picking because ever since then, like when I used them on a Cute Cats Color by Number page by Sach and Sach Diva. Um, I used them on a Color Questopia page. Like, they don't squeak anymore. So, I think it may have just been the random colors I was grabbing. The light colors, now I don't know for sure because I haven't really used them a lot, but to me it seems like the light colors, the color markers aren't as juicy as the dark color markers. So I'll be curious to see as I use them, like if they run out of ink faster. I don't know if that's just um whatever ingredients they're using for to fill the markers. So, y'all, it was so funny. I was talking to my husband last night. We were talking about the big thing that happened this week that I'm still trying to figure out how to rant about without saying too much. Um we were talking about, that, and I was sitting there, and he was saying, like, "When's your year at the job?" And I said, "It'll be in September," and he's like, "Really?" He's like, "It feels like you've been there for years." I said, "I know." It hasn't even been 6 months. It'll be 6 months March 12th, and it feels like it has been so much longer than that. And no, that's not necessarily a good thing, but it was just so funny the look on his face, like, "You're kidding me. There's no way." And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it's really only been, like, 5.5 months." And I just thought that was so funny. We have a heartbeat. You you nerd. I'm just kidding. You know I love you. I we're on our way, folks. We're on our way. Oh my gosh. Um, that's pitiful. I am pitiful. How long did it take me? It took me 30 minutes. It took me 30 minutes to start coloring today, guys. I can't focus on more than one thing at once. I've always been this way. I got a desk, and I wish I could move the camera over to show you guys. So, one of the things that I splurged on when I got a bonus, like, when a sign-on bonus for this job, and, one of the things I splurged on was a, electronic desk that's a standing it'll convert to a standing desk, and, my plan is to actually get another one for this desk, my coloring desk, so that I can use it as well. I mean, I can color on the other desk, but, like, make both desks are like that. This is a huge, like, it's got a piece at the top of it. It's this huge old desk, and it's one of those things, like, when it was a Goodwill hand me down when my husband got it, and this thing is heavy, and it's solid wood, and it's a great desk, but it's also on its last legs, and, like, so when this thing comes apart, like, it's going in the trash. It's being tossed. And so, I have not worked up the energy to take everything off this desk, dismantle it, put in a new desk, and put all that together. I have not put together the energy to do that yet because my desktop sits on this one and stuff. So, it would require a lot more switching around. Anyway, I got the stand-up desk, and I love it, and it's really helpful during the day. I need to do a lot more, like, mixing of sitting and standing during the day because with my fibro, basically, I get a lot of inflammation and pain when I'm just sitting in one position for too long. So if I mix it up with, like, standing and sitting, it helps keep that from happening as much. And, the reason I'm saying all this is they make those little treadmills. It would be even cooler if I could use one of those treadmills and, uh wait a minute. I'm thinking here how I wanna do this. Let's do every other one, this bright yellow. And I could pick a couple other yellow and orange shades too if I don't feel like 5 is cutting it here, so, this'll this is gonna look very monotone, it so just prepare yourselves. Yeah, let's do every other one. This is a good thing. So I was gonna get one of those treadmills, and I have to turn so by the way, guys, I have to turn to look at the desktop for chat. I could just bring it up on my phone, but there's a delay when I look at it on my phone. So, that's the reason I have to stop and turn around because the way my monitors are on my other desk, I have to, stop and look at the chat. So that's why I go long periods of time without knowing what's going on. So if you're wondering why I'm missing something, I promise I will get back to it. But they make those little fold out treadmills that you can put under like a desk, and so you can walk on the treadmill while you're working. There's no way. There's no way I would fall flat on my face so many times because I would get so absorbed in a task at work that I would simply just forget to walk. And so then I would just just slowly go backwards and just fall off the thing. And I can't tell you how many times I would wind up with a concussion before I would say, "Okay, I can't do this anymore." So, we're just gonna go ahead, get ahead of it, and just say, I just cannot multitask. I really can't. I don't know if I was ever really able to multitask. I just get so intense and focused on certain tasks. I've never even when I felt like I had less foggy brain and stuff when my brain was sharper, back in the day. I still don't think I could multitask. So, all right. Squeaky markers are amusing. Yeah, I mean, I was saying that last weekend just because I know some people are just real there's some people are just real sensitive to certain auditory noises, like I mean, I guess everybody's kinda like that. We all kinda have quirks that just really annoy us with like me, it's this sounds so terrible, but mine is people coughing. Like like, if somebody's coughing and they cough, like, the first once cough 1 or 2 times, I'm kinda like, "Okay, that's fine," but then they just keep coughing, and after, like, the 3rd or 4th time, I'm like, "Come on, get it under control." So so thankfully, Brent hasn't ever been sick enough around me where he's, like, coughing all the time. That's terrible. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does. Like, that's what I'm saying. So a lot of times you just have weird audio cues that just drive you crazy. So with some people it could be squeaky markers. So I always want to make sure I let people know about that. But so far they haven't really been squeaky after that. It might be again the light colored markers, so that yellow was fine. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, Valerie, sometimes that's the best way to do it. You said I put out a bunch of pencils and start coloring and choose it as I go. Honestly, not a great planner. The doing that sometimes is the only way to really get me going. Sometimes I just have to grab the marker case and just if the easiest way for me is to look at a picture, have I look at 2 things or 1 thing and I think, "This is the color this thing's going to be." And that's all I know, and so then I grab my markers and I have to build from there, and a lot of times that's just the easiest way to get me coloring. And as I'm going along, then I get to the end of it and, like, then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, now that I feel more inspired." Like, I wanna add pencils, or maybe this looks more like I wanna add paint to it or something like that. Sometimes just like you said, just bringing out the materials and just getting started is the way to go. I'd say half my pictures are inspired from the get-go. I have plans for them, and about half of them I don't. And the problem with having plans is if I'm not in the mood to implement those plans, I will refuse to color that picture. This picture I showed y'all that I finished with Kathy, I was supposed to do this in, I think, December. And I knew from the get-go I was going to use this paint. I knew she was going to be red and gold and she was going to be blue and silver. And because I knew I wanted to use the paint, but I wasn't in the mood to paint, I put off this picture for like 3 months because I refused and I tried. I thought, well, okay, fine. I'll just use marker. I'm just going to get it done. And like, I mentally refused. It was like, no, you are not doing this picture unless you do it the way you wanted to do it. And so finally I got there, but it took, like I said, it's about half and half for me. So all right, I'm behind. Shayna, welcome. So awesome to see you. Girl, I have missed you. I love hearing your stories. I love hearing about your experiences, and you're in Florida. You're not, I mean, Florida's a big state, right? But like you're, I guess, near Orlando, and like my brother-in-law and sister, uh well, my brother-in-law and his wife. I keep calling him my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And, and my husband doesn't like that because it sounds very Tennessee, doesn't it? Like it's his brother and sister, you know? Like, so my brother-in-law and his wife is what I try to say. They live like all the way down near Fort Lauderdale, over in Boca Raton area. But of course, Florida, just anytime I think of Florida, I think of them. I think of you, Shayna, all the time because I know you live down there, and I just always wonder how you're doing. I do miss seeing your lives as well and seeing your videos, but I understand it's hard. Um, I've been, like I said, I've had to take a huge break from coloring myself, so I know how it is. It's just life sometimes gets in the way. So never walk and work on a pew. There's no way, Valerie. I don't know how they do it. I think it's great. I actually feel like I could genuinely maybe lose some weight or at least get in a slightly better shape if I could do it. If I could just even just a light walk on on a treadmill while I work. And I just for an hour or 2, but like I just cannot do it. I just I would hurt myself so bad. So, we were actually thinking I wanted to get an elliptical. So, we have a recumbent bike that I really like that works well for my joints and my back, and I really should be using it more, and I don't. But I was also trying to justify maybe getting an elliptical because, they're a lot easier on your knees, I guess, but, like, a treadmill would be a lot easier on your knees too, just because 'cause you're not, hitting the bare pavement when you walk and stuff. And my husband likes to jog a lot, so maybe I keep looking at ellipticals, and of course, they're expensive, and I don't wanna get one that's gonna break. I'm a big gal, so I gotta get one that can support me, which means it can't be a $200 machine because those are for people that weigh, like, 120 pounds. It will not handle my weight for a long period of time, so I have to get one that's built well, and so you're looking at, like, 1,000 plus, and I just hate dropping that much money on something. Especially with just how up in the air, like, the economy is and everything. So, I'm almost back to the point that I maybe we just get a treadmill instead of an elliptical, but I haven't convinced myself I wanna do that yet either. But that would probably be because all the ellipticals I see have all mixed reviews. There's just not one that, everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever, and it never breaks, and it's a great machine," and, like and I guess that's gonna always be the case, but if you're gonna drop that much money on something, like, I feel like you need to feel like it's gonna last you and not just fall to pieces. So, I don't know. I'm still back and forth on I was really close to getting one over Christmas break, and then I waffled on it again. So, maybe I look at treadmills instead because treadmill's still gonna be softer on your knees because of the belt. So, oh, there goes Bagheera screaming. He's been screaming a lot the last few days, guys, and I'm not sure why when I say screaming. I'm talking about a cat too, by the way. I'm not like talking about a grown adult or a kid that, is just in a corner screaming and we're just ignoring him. No. Um Bagheera will get where he just starts meowing at the top of his lungs and we call it screaming. And he's been doing it a lot. Yesterday it was all day. I could not figure out what I don't know what he wants. Like we got plenty of food out and about for him to choose from. Um he can go outside even though it's cold. I do have the door propped open because I am a sucker and my cats are spoiled and they get very, very mean when I don't least give them access. It's not like they wanna be out there all the time, but they want the access. They want to know they can always be out there looking and watching, and if I can't let them out, then nobody's gonna have a good time. But anyway, he's been yelling a lot more the last few days, and I'm not sure why. He's due for his monthly pain shot on Monday, so I'm hoping maybe it's just he's, maybe hurting a little more because it's the very end of the month for that, and so maybe once we give him that, I hope it's nothing where he feels bad. He seems fine. He just is annoying. So, hi Dawn, welcome. Sorry I missed you earlier up in the chat there. Car got airborne, slid on the track on its roof, and flipped back on its wheels. Boy, I bet that guy's gonna have to change his pants after that. Like, like he's good. If that was me, yeah, yeah, I would definitely need some new clothes, a new pair of pants after that. Shayna, oh no, I know, hun. It's been that way here too. It's been a lot of changes in even just the past 6 months, and it just again earlier. My husband was like, "Have you really only been there the year in September?" He's like, "Have you really only been there that long?" Because it feels like the past 6 months has been a year's worth of life in just 6 months. I took that big certification exam for Marketo in January. It was like January 7th, and I'm telling you guys, it feels like 3 months ago. It's it's just been so much, and it's hard. It's been very hard. Yes, very Tennessee. I'm telling you, y'all, me and the treadmill. Yeah, I mean, at least with a bike, I'm not going anywhere, right? Like, I mean, I'm on the bike, not just static. I'm not actually moving in a direction, so it's a lot less dangerous for me. But I, with so one of the weird symptoms I've had, I've mentioned this before, but some of y'all that are new, or maybe haven't heard me talk about this, Kim and Loretta, this will be old hat, I'm sure. Um, I started It was weird. I got a cat bite in 2014. It was a neighborhood feral or neighborhood cat. I was trying to check it to see if it had a collar. It got me good on my arm. I went to the emergency room, and after much deliberation, of course, didn't know if the cat had rabies or had a vaccination, so I chose to get the series of rabies vaccinations, which fortunately these days don't require the big shots in your stomach. It is still a series of like 3 shots I had to go back for, and don't get me started on the ER I went to was in the next town over. It was the only place in the county that had them, and they were terrible. Like, the lady that cleaned up the cat bite wound, like, I still have a scar from it, actually. I don't know if you can see it. Whoop, there it is. Yeah, right there. He got me good. Like, it was deep. Probably definitely in the 20 years I have dealt with cats, the absolute worst bite I have ever gotten. Just ripped into my arm like a cougar. Um, and uh the doctor did a great job of cleaning up. The doctor I initially saw was great, but like the follow-up, they had me one day waiting. I waited 3.5 hours for a shot. For somebody to walk in there and give me a shot in my hip or wherever they put it. I don't even remember because that was like almost 10 years ago. And so it all started with a cat bite. Well, I don't know if it 100% started there. The previous November, I was in a gym. Speaking of gym memberships, I was going to the Y on a regular basis, and I was at my lowest weight I've been in years. I was at 215. I was feeling good. My husband and I started dating like in 2012. Yeah, this is our 10-year dating anniversary. It'll be on the 26th, I think, next weekend. And I was in a great relationship and I'd lost weight and I was getting into lifting free weights at the gym, like doing deadlifts and stuff like that, and just feeling strong, like it feeling real good. Then I started having insomnia that came out of nowhere, and then I started developing this pain, like right almost in the middle of my back, but it's just slightly the right of my spine. It's pretty much right where your bra line is on your back for us ladies. And it has been and right at the same time I started having insomnia. And ever since then, everything has went downhill from my health. Like, I guess that was the real starting point, but the cat bite was, I feel like, the real ignition. Like, I don't know if it was that and the shots, maybe because they're vaccination shots, they kind of screw around with your immune system a bit. But out of nowhere, so I get cat scratch fever and I have to take antibiotics for that. Then I wind up with mono, and to this day, we still don't know how that happened. My husband had just moved in a couple months prior, like, we were still dating, but he had moved down here when all the cat bite stuff happened, I think it was I take that back, I think it was, like, a couple weeks after he had moved down here, and, because it was May of that year, and, like, I get cat scratch fever, and then I get mono, and like I said, we still, just to this day, have no idea. My brother was in college at the time, and we had some of his friends over, him and his friends, and we played, like, Rock Band or something, and there's always a chance, like, when somebody has mono, they have periods of time in their life that they shed the virus. They'll have, like, I guess, increased amounts of virus in their system, and so if you get around somebody, I guess, that's susceptible, somebody could potentially pick it up, but, like, I wasn't drinking after anybody, and I certainly wasn't, like I certainly wasn't kissing anybody. They call it kissing disease or whatever. I was not kissing anybody with my husband, trust me, and, so, like, that's the only thing I can think of that we were sharing, like, a microphone and guitar, like, all the rock band peripherals, I guess, is the technical term, but, like, all the equipment. I was sharing the mic with a lot of people because I like to sing, and, it could just be I was vulnerable and just picked it up. That's the only thing I can think of. So let me take a break here and look. Hi, Brittany. Welcome, welcome. Ooh, shopping for flowers. Oh, that sounds fun. Oh, I would totally splurge for fresh flowers in the house every week if it wasn't for the cats. Um, I don't really have anywhere I could put stuff up that was totally out of that I would trust they could not get to, that I can't also enjoy them. So I do have, shoot, I put it across the room. I'll have to go get it in a little bit. That distracted me from what I was saying, um, when my back and the insomnia stuff started, I eventually canceled my membership because I just couldn't do the weights anymore. And then when I got sick in 2014, when I got monos really where it got bad. Um, I got mono, my husband got mono, of course, which makes sense, right? We just don't know where it started. So we both were really in bad shape for a couple months. And fortunately, since we were both working remotely, we were able to work while we were sick for the most part. Took a couple months to get over it. I went to New York with my brother in October. Thought I was feeling better, and then a few months later in January is when things really started going downhill. My insomnia was getting worse. I was starting to deal with a lot of joint pain, just fatigued all the time, just felt awful. And went through years of doctors not knowing um, what was wrong with me, doctors giving up on me, getting a fibro diagnosis, and to this day, I still feel like I'm actually a textbook fibro person. It's I don't think it's the only thing wrong with me, but I feel like it's genuinely, like, I should have been diagnosed with that, and I genuinely I don't believe, like, they were just trying to toss a label on me, But once I got that label, it has been impossible to get anybody to look further into my issues. That is something I will say. You drive and you drive to try to get somebody to figure out what's wrong with you. And then once they figure out what's wrong with you, or at least, one of the things that's wrong with you, that is what they will hold on to for dear life. And it has been a continued, I mean, we're talking, if you say 2014, I mean, it's been almost 10 years dealing with this. And I still to this day do not feel like, I feel like there's something else going on. I always worry because a mono infection they're finding these days that a mono infection can increase your risk for MS. And my mother-in-law has MS, and I've seen what it does, and that scares the piss out of me. Like, I don't if a doctor really thought I had that, like, I would like to find out early on just so I could access treatment early on, but also that's not a diagnosis you wanna hear either, so, like, that scares me a lot, that whatever's going on could develop into that, um, but I say all that sorry, this made me think of the multitasking thing. One of the things is I've gotten a lot clumsier, and again, this scares me because 'cause I'm thinking, like, MS and neurological stuff, but I've gotten a lot clumsier. Some days and it I can never guess when these days are gonna happen. I will drop almost everything in my hands. I will either knock it out of my hands somehow or I will drop it. And let me tell you, by the time I've dropped the 5th or 6th thing of the day, I wanna scream. Like, it's not that I'm losing feeling in my hands or, like, I feel like I can't grip anything. It's not that at all. I don't feel any different when I pick items up. It's just I end up dropping everything. And, it sounds so weird. It sounds so weird, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever really brought it up with the doctors before because it just sounds stupid. I don't feel like I'm losing any strength in my hands or anything. It's just I'm dropping stuff. And, like, I do feel weaker, like, and every time I try to do even just the lightest of, light weights or light workout routine, I cannot build up any sort of, strength or, uh, what am I well, just strength. Like, I will start a walking program no matter how slow I go. Inevitably, I will reach a point where my body's just been biding its time, and it's like, "Okay, you're doing this now. We still only have this much energy, and once you run out of that energy, I don't care what you're doing, we're not giving you any more." And I've never been able to build up past that. So every time I hit that point, I have to stop because I am immobile for, like, weeks because I just run out of energy. My body says, "Nope, you're not getting any more," and I've just never been able to increase that level. Whatever ambiguous level of energy that is, I've never been able to I've never been able to build that since I got sick. And for somebody that, again, used to, start doing free weights and lifting weights and stuff, it has been, very frustrating. Very frustrating. I don't know I can't remember what drove me to talk about that, but bazaars. I like that, bazaars. Very cool. Huh, Brittany, that's interesting. I didn't know that was a thing with autism, so I guess I'm learning a little bit today. I mean, I guess that makes sense with the fine motor skill issues, but yeah, I didn't know that about the low muscle tone and stuff. And yeah, oh, I bet that makes things really frustrating. Like my husband has to handle the litter here. It's we get 40-pound bags of the Dr. Elsie's litter from Chewy, and my husband has to handle it because let's let's mix these up here. My husband has to handle getting the litter out of the boxes because 40 pounds, like, if I'm feeling good, I will pick it up. But if I was to, like, continue if I was to pick up, like, 5 or 6 bags of it, probably the next day, my back would start hurting, and I don't know, I feel weaker, and it's like that weakness is what scares me. Like, the muscle tone of my arms feels a lot weaker than it did even just a few years ago, and I don't know if that is just because I haven't been able to work out, and so obviously I am getting weaker in my muscles, or if that is like a bigger issue. And it scares the piss out of me every time I have a day. And my husband knows that if he says somebody has a case of the dropsies, that he will die. So those days that I'm dropping stuff, I'm sure he's sitting in there, like, desperately trying not to say it because he knows that he will be unalived if he says that to me. Oh, it's a running joke. It's but I will, man. I will just flat out sit there and stomp and scream like a 3-year-old having a tantrum on those days that I just can't seem to carry or hold anything in my hands. It's like I said, it's very weird. And I've had doctors. Thankfully, I have found some good doctors over the years, and oddly enough, it seems to be the younger doctors and the nurse practitioners that have listened to me and helped me more than the established specialists, and with the exception of my cardiologist, he's awesome, but, um, all these older doctors and specialists have been the ones that are more dismissive of me than the newer, younger ones and the nurse practitioners. We have a clinic in this town that has a group of doctors and nurse practitioners. And the first one that took me seriously, my regular doctor, who I still love him to this day, but he's old and he's set in his ways. And he just reached a point where he's like, I can't help you anymore. I don't know what else to do. Now, granted, this was 10 years ago. Things might be a little different now, but I gave up for a long time and just dealt with it. And then I started seeing a nurse practitioner here, at the clinic in town. His name was, Josh, and, he was the first one that was like, "Look, I'm not just saying you have fibro because I want to put a label on you." He's like, "I legitimately think you have fibro." And, he's like, that was just when they started looking at gabapentin to treat fibro and stuff, so he wanted to try that, and, like, he was the first one that really was trying to find ways to help me. And I am forever grateful to him because I just started crying that day. Like, just having somebody listen to me and not sit there and go, it's because of your weight either. And I'm like, dude, the reason I weigh, because of course I gained all my weight back and then some. And to this day, I still haven't been able to lose any weight, even when I don't hardly eat some days. Like, I am not pulling in enough calories to maintain, or maybe I am, but, like, my metabolism's all screwed up. And, the number of doctors that I had that were like, "Well, if you lost weight, you would feel better." And I'm like, "Well, if I didn't feel like this, I could lose weight," like, it was yeah, don't get me started on that. But, he was awesome. He ended up leaving because the place itself isn't owned by new people bought it out. They're not very good, awesome people to work for, so he left. And unfortunately, all the good ones that I keep coming across there end up keep leaving. Because I'm on my 3rd doctor there now, and all 3 of them have been awesome. Oh, that is one thing I can talk about, that changed in the past week. So, let me check the chat real quick. It's like, "Okay, can I restart this day?" Kim, oh my gosh. So actually, I don't know about restarting the day. There's so many days that I'm like, can we just skip over the day? We'll just start tomorrow, right? We'll count today as a wash. And because then it gets me closer to Friday when I say that. So, um lightweight. Damn it, Brent. Dead. Dead. DED. DED. I know where you sleep, mister. I know where you sleep. I'm gonna sick a cat on you. All the cats gonna lay in your lap now. That's my revenge. The cats, yeah, oh yeah. So like all the cats are mine, by the way. When Brent and I started dating, dating was going to be an adventure for me for sure when I went through my second divorce. I think next weekend would be a good weekend to do a color and chat and talk about how Brent and I met and got together. I think that next weekend would be a good weekend for that. But in a nutshell, when I started dating, I had 11 cats and the cats were not going anywhere. So I had to make that very clear to everybody, to people I went on dates with, that I was like, you know, I have 11 cats. And if you don't like that, then if you can't handle that, I understand. I take no offense because it's a lot to take on. And I agree, with that. But I'm like, not getting rid of the cat. So you just, if you can't handle it, we best part ways now. And had a lot more confidence back then. Thanks to therapy, I suppose. But when Britt and I started dating, they were all my cats, and I was like, "Are you sure you want to take on a lady with 11 cats? Because I'm just going to tell you, I don't plan on having 11 cats forever because obviously time will pass, and I don't plan to replace them. But there will always, until I reach the age where I'm worried if something happens to me that I will leave a cat behind, and they will struggle to find a home for it." Unless I have an assurance and guarantee that a cat would have a home if Brent and I kicked it. Um, if I reach that age and reach that point, then I won't have a cat just because of that risk. I wouldn't want to leave a cat for somebody to have to find a home for. But if my brother, who funny enough is allergic to cats, but they have a cat at the house and he's fine with it. If he was ever like, "Hey, I'll take the cat if something happens to you or whatever," that'd be different, but I just wouldn't want to do that. I've seen so many stories of cats that wind up at shelters because their owners passed away, and it just breaks my heart. So, but I was like, until that point comes, there will always probably be at least 2 or 3 cats in my life. I feel like 3. If anybody ever asked me what the best number is for cats, I would say 3, because generally you got 2 that really like each other, and then you may have 1 that's kind of a lone wolf. But like 3 was always like the ideal amount to me. Um, and a lot of that depends on temperament and age and stuff like that. But yeah, I was like, "Are you sure you want to handle a lady with 11 cats? That's a lot." And he was willing to he was willing to play that play, and he's been here ever since. Like I said, next weekend will be our 10-year dating anniversary. So, yeah, I was I got distracted. I know I did. Okay, Kim. The lightweight kitty litter. Yeah, I I would like to do that, but the Dr. Elsie's works really well. It is not, oh my gosh. So back in the day when I was married to my second husband, and even when I was on my own, before I started the remote job that I was doing for like almost a decade, I was buying like the Fresh Step litter. And for 11 cats, you can imagine how much litter that was, and it was heavy. I was having to buy it in like, it was the 40-pound cases. They get plastic cases they had at like Sam's Club, and it was so heavy. I'm trying to decide if I want to do the inside like the outside, or if I just want to do them different colors. Trying to decide. We may just do them different colors. Why not? All right, let me make sure. 24. All right, so we have used all 5 of these. I want to see. I want to add some more colors. Let's add the vermilion. Let's add that in. That is 22. And 44 was the other one I grabbed. Hmm, let's do 35. All right. I don't know, like 5 colors never feels like enough to me for some reason. It's very odd. Um, there we go. But it gives me a starting point, and here lately, sometimes that's what I need is just a good starting point. So, but yeah, so oh yeah, so Tuesday Tuesday was a day where I kind of hit a limit and just in the last few weeks, I've had a few days where it just feels like the weight of the world's been on me. Like I'm just suffocating. And just between stuff happening here, doom scrolling on Twitter, which I know is not good for me. I get it. Definitely right now is not good for me. Um like seeing the issues in the world and seeing the issues and the stress in my life and just the heavy workload and the cats being sick and all that, like just the past month, I've had times where it just feels suffocating and it's just too much. And like Tuesday was a too much day. I felt so just emotionally fragile. I was trying to start projects at work and every time I was started working on something, I would hit a block and it would require somebody else's input or decision or another team and so then I would move to something else. And, that's very common at my job. They want you to be they in the interview process, they wanna hire people that are good with what they call ambiguity. And let me tell y'all, like, there's ambiguity and then there's just throwing somebody into the fire and not giving them any directions on how to get out. And, I feel like they're using the ambiguity a little too much here. Like it's carrying a lot more weight than it really should. Um, which has been one of my biggest issues is just I'm almost 6 months in and there are huge chunks of things that I just do not know yet. And I get assigned projects and I it's like you're in charge of this, you do this, and then like I said, inevitably hit a block where I need direction, I need help. And a lot of times I make decisions and sometimes they're not the right ones and I have to redo all my stuff. There was there was an email campaign that I think I had to redo like I had to change 2 or 3 times. Like that. And I'm all about work efficiency. Like efficiency is very important to me and having to redo things over and over like that really it's I'm not used to it. And so it's anyway, Tuesday I went very fragile. I was just on a hair trigger of weeping. Okay, Bagheera, thank you for screaming. I was on a hair's trigger of just weeping uncontrollably at everything. And I had to go to the doctor that day for med refills and had found out the previous month that my doctor had left. So I had Josh, he left. I had Elena, who was German. She's awesome the last few years. I've really enjoyed having her as my doctor. Then come to find out when I have to do a 6-month med refill on my Ambien because the state of Tennessee considered it a controlled substance. Don't get me started on that. But I can only get 6 months of it at a time, and then I have to go to the doctor to get it renewed. Sorry. Oh, you can tell I'm just so tired of it all. It's just anyway, so I called to make the appointment and they're like, "Elena's not here anymore." And I was so mad because she was the only one I really had that I felt like was listening to me other than my cardiologist. And so I tried a doctor there that my husband saw for his physical last year, and he said, "I think he's pretty good." His name's John. And he had a student nurse with them, or not a student nurse, but a student nurse practitioner with them. And she come in, she started asking me like the typical questions. And one of the things she asked me was, "Have you had any feelings of sadness or despair in the past few weeks?" And I'm sitting there like, how do I respond to this? Like, not any more than normal? Um, well, I haven't thought about throwing myself off a roof, if that's what you're asking. Like, there were about 5 responses that I immediately knew I didn't need to say. Like it just I knew they would require follow-up questions, and I just wasn't having it that day. I just When I went to see that rheumatologist in December, and he was so just condescending and dismissive, and just he really like, it really hurt, and it really discouraged me. Like, I just feel like, no, again, I don't really have anybody in my corner, medical wise, and just felt so upset about it. And, I think, yeah, that's a good color. We're just gonna do a solid in here. Um, Let me check the chat real quick. Oh, while you bake bookmarks. Ren, lurking is perfectly acceptable. I am totally cool with that. Always love when you guys want to chat, but I know sometimes you just like hearing, sometimes it's just easier while you're working to hear somebody prattle on in the background. So I am here for it all. If you guys want to chat, I'm certainly here to chat with you. If you just want to listen, I can scratch that itch as well. So there's a one of the people I follow on Instagram, her she's a pot roast mom. Pot roasts mom on there. So pot roast the cat, if you weren't familiar with pot roast cat, was, oh, what was the phrase? Oh gosh. Was the roughest looking cat I've ever seen in my life. That poor cat was like beautifully like unkempt. And Poirot, she was, I think it was a she, was like only 7, but she just looked, I wish I could remember the phrase she used because it was just perfect. Just the grungiest looking cat you've ever seen, but just absolutely loved her. She would tolerate having little hats put on her. And her mom is, I don't actually know her name in real life, was is hilarious. She's just my vibe. Like, she's, if I had less of a filter, I feel like, and was about 20 years younger, I feel like that would be me. Like, but anyway, Pot Roast was like the goat of scrungy cats, and Pot Roast passed away last year. Unfortunately, she had, come to find out, she had FIP, and it was actually right at a year ago. And ever since then, she's got a couple of what she calls conventionally attractive beige cats. And what was the whole point of me saying this? Oh my gosh, this is so funny. I Oh, that was it. So she does these ASMR videos where she says she's doing like a brain scratch or whatever, and so she'll make these motions, and there'll be scratching sounds, and like she'll do these like fun little ASMR videos, like where she's scratching your brain or whatever, and it's funny. Sorry, when I was saying scratching the itch, it made me think of that. Anyway, if you haven't seen her Instagram, she's on YouTube too. Definitely check her out, and I adore her. She's awesome. Pot roast was awesome too, and so anyway, sorry, that was, I'm very random tonight. Oh yeah, Brittany. So like the older cats, we are well versed in kidney disease in this house. So with I've probably had 17 or 18 total cats in my life, probably in my lifetime, even if you count the outdoor cats that are not really my cats. And we are very familiar with kidney disease because, fortunately, not all of them have made it, but quite a few make it to being older. And, I think I'm going to use this yellow and red for the edges. No, what am I going to do? Sorry, I'm thinking now. Kind of want another color. I picked this palette, and we're just all going off the rails here. I might throw in a red. Why don't we throw in a red? Like a legit red. Ooh, we could do a dark red. Let's do 2. 2 is old red. Let's do that. I think that'll be nice because we introduced a lighter yellow. It actually kind of matches the outside one now that I think about it. So let's introduce a darker color. Um, so my very first cat that I ever owned, Felix, he had a skin disorder where he would just get very itchy and like he lost all the hair on his stomach, bless his heart. He was so itchy, like he would lose the hair up above his eyes. And we had to do steroid shots for the poor fella. He just, especially in the hot, during the winter months, it wasn't too bad, but in the summer, he had to do right at that 6 to 8 week mark for steroid shots. We had to do them like almost on the day, on schedule every couple months because he just would flare up and be miserable. And the thing is, when you do that many steroid shots in a cat, you got to worry about their kidneys. And because of his age, it basically just kicked him over into kidney failure. And so that was hard. Oreo had kidney issues to the point we were using, who got, was it Tiger? I had one cat, and maybe Felix. There have been a number of cats I've had to do IVs on. So when cats progress in kidney disease, a lot of times the more fluids you can get in their body, um, the better it's for their kidneys. And some of the cats tend to not drink as much water as they need to later kidney disease stages. So I actually bought like an IV pole because that's how often I've had to give IVs to the cats. Um, to give fluids to a number of cats that have had kidney disease. So Tiger, he had kidney disease, but he also had kidney stones, which is rare for a cat. He had one travel to his bladder and get blocked, and we had to do emergency surgery to remove that. Then he had one that got caught in the tube between his kidney and his bladder, and that was ultimately what led to his passing because it was causing him extreme pain. And in a cat, those little tubes and stuff are so microscopic that like you just surgically cannot go in there and fix it. Not removing kidney stones in a cat's like impossible right now. Maybe in the future, but right now you just can't do it. You got to have them pass into the bladder, and that one got stuck, and there was just nothing they could do. And that one was hard on me. But like, um, right now, so Oreo had it, like a number of cats have had it. We always get them checked each year. Every cat gets a senior wellness, with the exception of Leroy, but Leroy's like 3. All the others are 15 or older. I think Reef Chief's the youngest. He might be 15 or 16. And Sid and Winry are definitely 18. And I think Scamper's 16, Bagheera's 16, and Reef Sheep's 15. And then Leroy's like 3 or 4. So big difference there. But no, every year they go in for a senior wellness, and that's where they get the expanded blood work. What is going on in there? I think Leroy's having the zoomies. Um, it's a huge blood panel they do where they check their thyroid, their kidneys, everything like that. And so Scamper has some kidney disease. It may just still be renal insufficiency and not full blown kidney disease. And then Winry has kidney disease. And so we do take them in every 3 to 6 months. We take them in more often to keep an eye on them. But Bagheera had his senior wellness um in November. His kidneys look great. Sidonia's kidneys apparently look great. Reap's Cheeps, I can't remember, but I don't think anything was wrong with his. Leroy has crystals in his bladder, so it's not actual kidney disease. Uh, Maggie had kidney disease, which his was unusual. It wasn't due to age because when he got sick, like he was only 13 or 14, it was actually like more of a he actually they think he had issues with his kidneys from the time he was born and it just never surfaced until later in life. So that can happen too. So yes, we're kidney disease is like really one of the number one things that unalives cats, especially older cats. So yeah, I'm with Brittany. Always, if you have older cats, I'm a huge proponent of senior wellness visits if you can swing them. They're obviously a little more expensive than regular blood work because they do like full panels and stuff. But huge advocate of that because they can find a lot of things. Um, all the cats have various issues. It is a geriatric cat's home here, is what I like to call it. We're like a convalescence home or whatever. It's not kitty hospice, at least. Well, I say that. We'll get there in a minute. Hang on, let me check the chat. Oh Lord. Hey, Haley. Oh, I'm your entertainment at the gym. Excellent. Love it. I love that you're at the gym. Wish I could be there too. Oh man, Loretta, I'm sorry. Gosh, I swear, so many times I wish I lived closer to you. So Loretta and I both live in Tennessee, but she is on the east side. East side, yes. And I'm in Middle Tennessee. And one of these days, Loretta, one of these days, I'm gonna road trip down there. I'm gonna road trip over there one weekend, and I'm gonna come see you. I'll warn you, it's not gonna be a surprise visit, I promise. Like, I don't do well with surprise visitors, and I assume nobody else would either. So I will warn you, but that is the dream that one day I will be able to do that. Maybe later this year, who knows? Maybe I won't even have a job later this year at the rate things are looking. Oh gosh, you gotta laugh about it, right? Because if you don't, then it's either laugh or cry. Hopefully, you'll be able to manage that with your refills. Yep, colorful dreams, you're absolutely right. A number or paycheck. It is really hard, and it's going to get harder, I feel like, to find good doctors because I feel like teachers, I feel like the field of doctors is like fewer people are going to medical school. And so I think as the population continues to age, we're seeing it now. My cardiologist, I was supposed to have a follow up with him like late last year. They called me and they're like, he can't make it. Let's get you rescheduled. This was in like October or November. And they scheduled me for June of this year. And I'm an established patient. And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Is there any sooner?" And they're like, "No, there's always cancellations, so you can call and check." They didn't want to put me on a waiting list, but I was like, "God, are you kidding?" I had to wait 6 months to see that joker in Nashville. When I was looking for a new rheumatologist and I found him, they're like, "Yeah, it's going to be 6 months before you can see him." And I'm like, "You're kidding." It's huge, huge thing. Like it's going, if you are not somebody that normally goes to the doctor, just I'm trying to help you out here and help you just be aware that that is going to be a thing. I feel like in the years to come it is going to get harder and harder to find somebody. So, for sure. And that's just finding a doctor. I'm not talking about finding a good doctor. I'm talking about finding a doctor. Like this guy in Nashville incensed me. I hadn't been that mad in months, in years when I left his office. But I've got to have a doctor that can refill my meds so I can function. And if I act out, if I actually, stick up for myself and tell him like it is, guess what he's going to not do? So I'm stuck. And it's terrible because so many people are in that position where they wanna advocate for themselves, and they're like, "You're not doing what you should be doing." But they're scared to do it because then your doctor's gonna be like, "Alright, well, then I just ain't gonna see you anymore. How you like that?" And then who you got, right? I have one rheumatologist in my county. 1. And when they stopped taking my old insurance is when I had to go looking for the new one, which was in Nashville. It took 2 hours from my house that morning to get to his office in rush hour traffic. And I was like, "You are kidding me." And he's probably closer to me than for a lot of people in this state, especially people in rural areas. Like, it's crazy. It's just the healthcare system, I feel like, is collapsing before our eyes, and nobody is paying any attention. Well, the people that are involved are paying attention, but not the people that should be. Leave my itch alone. Oh, pot roast. Pot roast. That was such a cool cat. Oh, I was thinking that too, Brittany. Sorry, I'm catching up. The Ozempic, when Loretta mentioned that, I remember that there's, like, such a shortage right now, because they're pushing it for weight loss, and, like, it's a diabetic drug, and, like, so many people are using it for weight loss that diabetics are having trouble getting it. There's nothing wrong with using it for weight loss, but make sure you have enough for the diabetics before you go pushing it for. I mean, I'm not saying weight loss isn't critical, but, like, if a diabetic needs it to survive, then I kinda feel like it takes a back seat to diabetes. I apologize, but, I mean, that's just if you're gonna have if you have a shortage or something, then why are you using it for something else off label? Anyway, don't get me started on that. The one reason one of That's one of the reasons I wouldn't even consider going on it. However, um, one of the other reasons that gave me hesitation is it can because it slows down your digestion, it does exactly what my gastroparesis does to me. And it can cause gastroparesis in some people. And I'm like, I don't need my digestion to slow down any further because I don't want to wind up using a feeding tube for the rest of my life. Like, so I can't. I'm too much of a risk factor to even get on that. So, but yeah, that's what I was thinking when I saw it. I was like, wow, invert the palette used on the next portion. Oh, that's a good idea, Loretta. I think that's what we're gonna do. You're diabetic and borderline. Yeah, that's what they keep telling me, like, I'll go in and my blood sugar level, like, my glucose level will be borderline, but my A1C is fine, like, it's not even borderline. So with PCOS, I'm considered at risk already for becoming diabetic, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and, so they've always considered me pre-diabetic over the years, and yes, I eat more sweet stuff than I should. But I've never fully they put me on the main medicine they use for type 2. What's it called? Begins with a M. I'm thinking Medito I'm thinking melatonin, meta there's like 3 or 4 M's in my head, and none of them are right. Anyway, they had me on that for a while, and it wasn't really doing anything, and I had so many I have so many now, but I had so many meds, we were trying to look to cut some of them down, and that was one of them that went, and honestly, it hasn't creeped up. Kim, that's fine, I'm sure you're long gone by now, but, go do what you gotta do, girl. Colorful dreams. Your daughter was born with 1 kidney. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I can imagine just trying to make sure um, that you gotta really stay on that 1 kidney and make sure that it's functioning. So, heard a story about that the other day that there was somebody when it was on TikTok, and it was a doctor that she said there was a patient to come in with a child that had pain, and she had the 1 kidney, and they thought it was something else, but it turned out to be, like, nothing to do with her kidney or whatever, and so sorry. I'm all over the place tonight. I'm sure that surprises absolutely none of y'all that are in the chat, but, like, y'all will say something that connects something else to me and everything like that. My kidneys have been the one of the few things that so far seems to be at least handling all the meds that have been I've had to take over time and stuff, so I've been fortunate in that regard. Um Are you really, Haley? I didn't know that. Yeah, absolutely. You okay, you're on my road trip map. One of these days I have a road trip map. And of course, anytime I were to ever come in a direction near one of y'all, by all means, I would love to meet like every as many people as I could meet on YouTube in like for like lunch and stuff. One of these days, go on like a coloring tour or something and meet a bunch of people on. I think that would be fun. The problem is I don't like driving. So, but like all the issues with flights recently and all the issues we my brother and I had last year flying, like I'm not big on planes right now either. So I'm just not big on driving. That's my problem. But see, I've always wanted to go down to Savannah and meet Anne from Anne's Colorful Life too. Like one of these days I'd like to do that. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, that's my biggest problem is just driving. And granted, I could fly to, like, Savannah, so it wouldn't be so bad. I wouldn't have to drive that portion. I've also wanted to, at some point, Tammy and I are gonna meet too from Tammy Colors too. We were gonna try to meet and go to Mammoth Cave last year, and that didn't we just were so busy that never happened, but I've also thought she goes to Gen Con every year, and I've kinda thought about going there, but me and big places with congested people just isn't I'm still not I'm still very COVID conscious because of everything I just told y'all. The last thing in the world I need is long COVID. I believe I got sick with COVID right when it became a thing because soon after I had that mystery illness in April of that year, I started developing heart palpitations and tachycardia, which I now have to be on medication on, which is why I'm at the cardiologist. So, like, I know what it's like to be chronically ill, and all the symptoms I hear of like long COVID and issues with the heart and things like that sound very similar to what I've went through, and I don't need any more of it because if it gets it, I I'm able to work and function right now, but it wouldn't take a whole ton, and the only reason is because I'm able to work remote too. If I had to commute 2 hours to Nashville every day, I don't know. I really don't know if I could do that. And I mean, I would try, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But remote's been I mean, for people like who are chronically ill and disabled, being able to work remotely like is a huge boon. I mean, it enables so many people to be able to work that may not otherwise be able to work. And I say all that for a reason um, that I'll get to at some point. Ren, I tell you what, you say I know you're a teacher girl, and I tell you, I know I need to get back to this. Trying to figure out, like she said, using the opposite colors, and so in my head, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do here for opposite colors, like use the inverse palette. Okay, yep, yep. All right, so we're gonna pick that really close to orange color we have and that's what we're going to use here. So, um, yeah, I I tell you what, teachers right now, you guys, you guys are rock stars, like absolute rock stars. I went, for those of you who don't know, I went and got my master's degree. I got my teacher certification in secondary education. I was going to teach business and marketing education at the high school and, middle school level. I could do computer classes. Also took the exam and got certified for economics and such. And when I got out of school in 2012, there weren't any teaching. I mean, I had like 5 or 6 counties to choose from, including Davidson County. And and unless it was on the outer edges of Davidson, that would have been like a 2 hour a day drive, I was considering it. And there just weren't any openings. And I found this remote job. Well, I went to work for Camping World for a while. I have no problem saying that. And was doing their email marketing. Was not happy there. Left after 6, maybe 7, 8 months. A friend of mine found a remote job doing email marketing, and she knew how far I lived from Nashville and how, a remote job would be beneficial for me. And just that came across, it was a huge pay raise. Then my dream teaching job came up where my high school accounting teacher was leaving over here. The high school I can see from my house almost. He was leaving and transferring to another school in the county, and he's like, "It's basically your job if you just, you go through the interview process and stuff." And I couldn't do it. It was like I was still living on my own. Brent hadn't moved in yet. We had just started dating, so it was very up in the air. And I just you don't know, right? And I was trying very hard to be very independent at the time. And like it was a $15,000 a year pay cut. And like I was the sole person in my house. And so I was like, I don't think I can do this and feel comfortable in my finances. So I had to turn it down, and it was the hardest decision I had ever had to make at that time, I felt like. But let me tell you, 10 years later, I look at what the education system, speaking of issues, I see what poor teachers have to go through right now. And I can tell you right now, I would have already opted out as much, and I miss it. It was a passion. It was something I truly wanted to do, and I still miss it, but I could not do it in the you could pay me 100,000 a year as a teacher right now, and I still wouldn't do it. Not especially in my state, especially in Tennessee. And with the recent things they've been passing, and I don't want to get into politics here because I know that's a sensitive subject, but like with the recent stuff they've been doing in the school boards, and just, I feel like teachers are being, that I'm trying to look for the word here. They're being treated awful and expected to do everything in this world with no resources or support, and with even less support than they've ever had. And to do it in an environment when COVID and kids getting sick is still a thing. I remember when I student taught, I was sick for 2 months straight. My first 2 months of student teaching, them stupid high school kids had everything, and I picked it all up. I had hand sanitizer, and I almost was like spraying Lysol in the classrooms. It got so bad because I was sick all the time. There's no way. There's no way. Not without masks and mitigations and stuff. I mean, and that's just scratching the surface. Anybody that's still teaching, you have my absolute admiration and respect. I love what y'all are doing. I know I couldn't survive in the current environment, and it may make me weak saying that I maybe some people think I just don't wouldn't love the kids enough to stick it out, but there just reaches a point, sometimes where you got to look out for yourself. And I just yeah, I don't know how y'all do it. And each of y'all should be making 100,000 a year. I mean, you really should. I don't care where you live for what y'all put up with. Mm-mm. Nope, nope, nope. Coloring convention. Okay. I am so behind here, y'all. Oh, really, Haley? You're one of 5 people in your college biology program. That is really cool. What are you hoping, like, what would you like to do after college? What do you think you're kinda looking for? So Loretta, I'm really glad they do telehealth for you. That is the one bonus from this doctor in Nashville, the evil doctor. He does telehealth. And as long as he doesn't make me have to come in to do blood work next month, I have a telehealth appointment with him. And that's the one thing that's kept me from going back to my old rheumatologist that's made him slightly better than the previous situation I had. So telehealth, that should be something that's happening across the board now. Like, here, I'm gonna crack open this Coke. I'm gonna be up half the night drinking caffeine this late, but I am I am tired and I feel like I want to keep going. So I need a little boost. But like they're trying one of the things when the COVID emergency declaration ends, again, do not get me started on that. I think that is the wrong move. One of the things, though, is a lot of telehealth options for people are going to go away. And I feel like that is the absolute wrong direction we should be going in. Telehealth is awesome. And it's not, I mean, for certain things, it's not viable. Like if you're going to the doctor because you need a shot or you need him to look at your finger or something like that, telehealth's not going to work. But like if you need a med refill, or if it's something you're going in to talk about, but they don't have to do an exam, like it makes no sense that you should actually have to physically go in if telehealth is an option. I mean, I would just think across the board it would be a benefit to everybody. So I'm glad you have that option. That is awesome. Um, my little clinic here in town, I wish would offer it. I feel like they did for a short period of time and then they stopped, and I don't know why people are stopping with that. So, colorful dreams, even if you ask for meds that help you certain times. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, my poor mother last year, my mom has been my mom is amazing. I just love her to death. Like I love both my parents to death, and they she has always been very stubborn, I guess, in her life. Like, she's not one to complain if she's in pain or she's not feeling well or anything like that. And she's had some health issues in the last 5 to 10 years. And one of those was, like her heart. She had problems with where she had to take blood thinners because she had potential, she has AFib. And we had to, the blood thinners were causing gastric bleeding, which just about took her out. I'm so grateful she was able to get what's called a Watchman device put in her heart. So in everybody's heart, there's a little notch, like a little weird little sticky out thing in your heart, like just a little notch. And if you have AFib or you have any sort of disease that could increase your chance for a stroke, blood can collect in that little notch, form a clot, and then get sent off into your body to wreak havoc. And that kind of stroke is what they call like a major stroke. Like that's going to cause a lot of problems. And so with mom's AFib, it was more likely to form that clot. What the Watchman device does is they go in, they put something in there, like, I mean, it's not like they stuff a tissue in there or anything, but they put some sort of piece in that little notch so that it scars over and it smooths it out, so you don't have anything collecting there. So for people who have problems with blood thinners, um, and if they're taking it for that specific reason, then, they can go off the blood thinners and maybe only have to even just take aspirin. And my mom's gastric bleeding, I mean, I'm telling y'all, I really feel like we got close to losing her. It just kept she kept having them and they kept getting worse and she kept getting weaker, and the insurance didn't want to pay for the Watchman device because it was fairly new at the time. And finally my dad was on insurance that approved it, and it was in March of 2020. And February, I knew on Twitter. I was watching Twitter and I'm like, COVID's going to be a thing. I had us go to the store and stock up. I had us prepare. I knew mom's surgery was coming up and I was like, I really don't want her to be in a hospital right now, but she's got to have this done. And thank goodness she did. because in April's when, like, everything really started getting delayed and they started delaying all these surgeries and procedures and stuff. Had they waited, like, 2 weeks, she may not have been able to get it done, and I don't know if she would've made it if she hadn't had it done, because right now, I don't even think she's on the aspirin, and she goes in each year, like, once or twice a year, and they do a scope and they check, and she's had, other issues before, like, she had a hole in her heart as they didn't catch as a kid. They didn't catch till she was 35. Somehow, she carried me to term with it because it had grown the size of a quarter. It was a pretty massive hole in the between the chambers of her heart, and, she had had miscarriages, before she had me, and they think that was part of it was the stress on her heart, like, it was just too much stress on her body, and right after they fixed it, she had to have open heart surgery when I was in, like, 4th grade. Right after that, she got pregnant with my brother. He was not planned. My mother had him when she was 35, so we're, like, 12 years apart. But I say all that last year she because of all the blood loss, she had been having some issues with falling before she had the Watchman done, and she, like, broke her shoulder one I remember close to Christmas one year. She had never broken a bone in her life. That was horrific to deal with. She dealt with that like a champ. I mean, she took what medicine they gave her, it healed, everything was fine. Then last year, she had fell, but she was fine, so they didn't go to the doctor. Well, then a couple months later, she wakes up and she's got this major pain in her back and ends up going to the hospital. They ended up life flighting her from that little crummy ass hospital I was telling y'all about to Nashville. I don't know why they life flighted her. That she wasn't, I mean, she wasn't critical or anything. It was the weirdest thing. She's on Medicare, or I think it's Medicare for the older people. So that explains it. They probably just, as much money as they could get. They life flighted her, which of course scared the crap out of her. To this day, they still don't know what's wrong with her back. So they found all these other, they found issues. She had some fluid buildup. They thought maybe that led to the back pain, but then that's went away. They finally got her good everywhere else and got her everything balanced, but, like, her back is still bothering her, and so, like, she was getting to the point where she had to take pain meds, um, and not take them every day, but some days she'd take half of one, and some days it'd be so bad she'd have to take a full one. And her doctor was fine with it, but he's like, "Hey, maybe you should go to a specialist, have them look at your back." They looked at her back and they're like, "Well, we don't see anything. You could do surgery, but I don't think it's going to make any difference." They just claimed it was arthritis. This was a pain that came up overnight and has never fully went away. I cannot fathom that this is arthritis. Anyway, so then they referred her to a pain management clinic, and oh my gosh, do not get me started on how those people treated my mother. They acted like she was in there begging for everything. Like she just and nobody should be treated that way. I don't care if they have an addiction problem or not. Nobody should be treated that way. And my poor mother was just trying to get the bare minimum, and she hated being on. Hated it, but she takes a lot of Tylenol and she's got liver issues. And it's like, what's the point of denying people pain meds that for a lot of people have minimal side effects? There's an addiction concern, but they have minimal side effects on your liver and on your other parts of your body, and deny these people these meds. And so then they wind up taking fistfuls of Tylenol and ibuprofen and wreck their liver and kidneys. How is that any better? How is that any better? Anyway, so she just got to the point she stopped going. And as far as I know, she's not getting any more refills and she's just dealing with it with Tylenol, which is breaking my heart. And I don't want her to do that because I know it's not doing her liver any favors, but she feels she doesn't like feeling that way. She doesn't wanna go to somebody and feel like she's gotta beg somebody for a med that she's even scared to take just to function. And as far as I know, she has good days and bad days. They think she has not osteoporosis, but the next thing up. But the weird thing is her body's producing too much calcium. So now she's gotta go to a specialist and figure out what's going on there. Hopefully, it's nothing major, but, like, she just the poor woman can't get everything figured out. It's always something going on. But anyway, sorry, colorful dreams just triggered that in me. I was so mad. Just, I mean, first off, they treated my mom that way, but hell, that they would treat anybody that way. This whole nonsense about, I'm not saying that there shouldn't have been a crackdown on prescribing pain meds. I'm not saying that. I know there were pain med mills out there. I know there were doctors just writing those prescriptions, getting people addicted, making money off of it. I realized that that scam was going on and it definitely needs to be regulated. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying they have just went too far with it. That everybody that has they are treating it like people should just not be feeling pain, and that if you are, you should just be able to deal with it. And I'm sorry, but that is just not reality. And it's like they're getting to the point they're giving Tylenol to people who have surgeries because they don't want to even give them like a 10-day prescription of a pain med. And it's just ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And it's like I said, you and they say they're doing studies saying that, "Oh, people are reporting less pain." No, you know what's happening? People are have stopped going to doctors because they're tired of being treated like they have an addiction or being treated like they're just the scum of the earth because they're in pain. And they're stuffing themselves full of ibuprofen and Tylenol, and they're just grinning and bearing it and living feeling miserable. That's what's happening, and that's what they've drove these, or they're so desperate they're going to street drugs, and then you start talking about fentanyl and heroin and stuff like that. Some of them are doing that, and it's like, they show that, like, the overdose numbers have not gone down at all. It's in fact, they went up. So, it's just, oh, it makes me so mad, and that's the thing, I don't ever ask for pain medication. I have never wanted to ask for it because I know how people are treated like that. And I have just been like, I got to deal with it. I got to manage it. When I was on, and I'm so glad she brought this up because when I went to the doctor in December, he's like, "How's your pain level?" I'm like, "It's the same it always is. It's not any better, it's not any worse. I'm always in pain." For somebody that's always in pain, if you ask them on a scale of 1 to 10 what their pain level is, they might tell you 2 or 3 and you think, "Oh, they're barely in any pain." No, they've been in pain so long that that's a normal 2 or 3 for them. Like, if I'm able to get up and walk around the house and function and not be on the couch all day, I might mark a 3 or 4 on my pain level. It might still mean I'm in, like, almost unbearable pain, but because I had to get so used to it, my 1 to 10 pain level's not the same as someone who doesn't experience day-to-day chronic pain. It's not the same. But anyway, I didn't bother with him. I knew nothing was gonna change. So when I went in Tuesday, this gets me back to Tuesday, and that student, so she, first off, she asked me about the behavioral. I'm sorry, I know I haven't checked chat in a while. I promise I will. I'm on a tangent now. And I've completely stopped coloring. Hang on a minute. Let me pick out some colors so I can at least do this. Um, so I went in, yeah, let's, no, no, hang on. Thinking what I wanna do. Yeah, let's just color this in solid. So I went in Tuesday, and again, I avoided her questions about depression and stuff because, again, like pain, it's the same as it always is. I'm always depressed. It's just some days I'm less depressed than others. The medicine I take, Savella, it manages it, but that's about all I can ask for at this point. And I don't want to go mucking around with it because I'm scared if we go mucking around with my medicine, I'm not going to be able to do my job and I'm going to lose my job. I just don't have that kind of flexibility right now. And so I was being very close-lipped and very short with my answers with her. And I knew she was going to bring up the behavioral health department there. And let me tell you, as much as I like the health clinic there, the behavioral health is terrible. Terrible. Again, very, very "Oh, you're drug seeking." I had somebody sit there try to tell me I had a mood disorder, like, they're just garbage, absolute garbage. I don't like any of them, and so I didn't want to go through that conversation, and, so then I felt bad, and I apologized to her. I said, "I'm sorry if I seem short." I said, "I'm not angry with you." I was like, I had a really bad experience at the specialist appointment I went to see in December, and I'm just discouraged, and I'm stressed and upset and fragile today." And I was like, "I'm scared to mess with any of my meds because I need my job." And so I started tearing up, of course, because I'm fragile. And I started getting upset with her about it. And so she softened up a bit. We talked for a little bit, and uh I'm just picking random stuff now. Uh oh, no, that's the same one as the other one. Darn it. Yeah, that's a problem when they're all so close to each other. Okay, well, that one might look a little off, but that's okay. Um so we got to talking a little bit about it, and I just told her, "Hey, I'm sorry, there's a lot going on. I've got very sick cats and new job that's just sucking up every bit of energy and thought that I have, like brain processing power." And anyway, back in August, my liver values were elevated, and it wasn't bad. Like, one of them, I can't remember what they're called, but one of them is supposed to be like between 4 and 10, and it was 40. The other one's supposed to be like 40, and it was 90. So it wasn't a huge difference, but it was elevated. And the nurse's response to that was, "Eat more fruits and vegetables." Okay, thank you, ma'am. Yes, let's tell the gastroparesis person who cannot digest anything but pretty much anything but soft fruits and vegetables at this point without having pain and issues, to eat more fruits and vegetables. I'll get right on that. I tried milk thistle to see if that would help, and they were still elevated when the evil doctor took my blood work in December. So I mentioned that to John, my new dog, and he said, "Well," and I said, "The only thing that changed last year was I started taking, metoprolol, which is a, heart med. It slows my heart rate down." And "Well," he's like, "I wouldn't think that that alone would have an issue, make your liver values go up." He's like, "Does it help?" And I said, "Yeah." I was like, "My heart rate's fine now between that and the Verapamil I take." And he goes, "Oh," he's like, "Well, at this point, I don't wanna mess with, if it's working with your heart, I'm okay with these liver values if your, heart is still doing okay." Like, that was the priority to him. And, but then he asked, he's like, "How much ibuprofen are you taking?" And that's why again, long way to get all this. I was like, "Yeah, I'm taking a lot of ibuprofen." I take 800 milligrams a night, which is 4 pills, to go to bed every night, because inevitably one of my problems with my insomnia is I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm in pain and uncomfortable. And it's so bad sometimes it's even in my face, and I have to take my CPAP off because it bothers me. And then I wind up taking more ibuprofen 6 hours later when I have those bad nights. And but it's just to get the pain to die off enough so I can go to sleep. And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's way too much ibuprofen." He's like, "Why'd you stop the gabapentin and Lyrica?" Which I was taking a few years ago. I was taking one and I took the other. I said, "Well, I started developing gastroparesis, and a side effect of those drugs is gastroparesis. So I thought if I stopped them, it would go away." He's like, "Well, has it got any better?" I said, "No, not really. It's gotten a little worse." He said, "Okay." He said, "Well," said, "that is a very rare side effect." He said, "I think it was a coincidence." He said, "I think the gastroparesis is something different." He said, "I don't think the medicine caused it." And he's like, "To be quite honest with you," he said, "I'm more worried about you taking the ibuprofen and causing more problems with your liver than I am the gastroparesis being more likely to, or the gabapentin being more likely to cause the worsening of the gastroparesis." He's like, "Would you be willing to try it again?" And I was like, "Well, sure, because 'cause it's been a couple years." So he put me on 25 milligrams of Lyrica a couple days. That's pregabalin. That's you either take gabapentin or pregabalin. Some people, everybody's sensitive to different types of meds. So, like, um, I want to do a back and forth on this one. What do I want to use? I want to use. Why do these colors look exactly the same? And, so yeah, I'm starting to take Lyrica again. Oh boy, I need to catch up. All right, hang on, let me catch up here. And she's off. Yep, I it's so funny. That's the next thing I read. We need a coloring convention. I have wanted, oh my gosh, colorful dreams. The dream for me has been to do a color con. I before COVID I would have loved to have done a color con. Like, I would have even been willing to try to coordinate it in Nashville and, like, done a color con. I think that would have been so much fun. Now, though, I am so iffy about big groups of people just until if we ever could get past COVID, that would be my dream, like, the true dream. I would totally do it. Oh my gosh, poor teachers. Really, Loretta? You never graduated? Well, absolutely, I could homeschool you. Economics was one of my worst classes. Hell, you know, all this push to charter schools, I saw this lady the other day give a great speech. Again, I'm trying very hard not to delve into politics here and people's personal beliefs, so I'm sorry, but this is just how I feel. The reason public education is struggling is because you keep taking money away from it. If you don't give something enough money and enough support, of course it's going to fail. And that's the purpose, that's the goal, I feel like, of certain people right now in the government and in the school boards and everything. The goal is to get rid of public education because the more your masses are educated, the more they think for themselves, and heaven forbid people think for themselves anymore these days because we just want little lemmings. Um, so like charter schools is a thing they're really trying to push in Tennessee with vouchers and stuff. And there was this lady in Kansas who gave a speech and said, "Sure, let's do charter schools because if we do charter schools, then I could do again, don't wanna dive into politics, but she's like, "I can then teach the leftist woke agenda," and it wasn't sarcasm, but it was kind of a tongue in cheek kinda thing she was a point she was trying to make, right? Like, if you're asking for charter schools because you don't want people to have individual thought, then you're going to get people that create schools to push individual thought because those same people are also being held back some by the federal standards these days. Like, you're going to open a Pandora's box, is what they're saying. And it was funny because when she gave that speech, I was kind of like, I could start my own charter school and I could ask for whatever I wanted as a teacher's salary and teach kids and have my own curriculum in a charter school and this and that. It was just funny because when you guys were talking about me doing that, me teaching y'all, that's totally what I should do. Oh, I know, Ren. It's exactly it. Focusing on all the negative. You guys do so much with so little, and it just these people that are like, "Well, you get summers off," just make me foam at the mouth because I'm like, "No, you don't." It's full of professional development and second jobs because you don't make enough. Like, oh yeah, no. Okay, we've already been down that road, so yep, math in your head and cursive writing. Yeah, we we're getting so far from the basics. Work to create new medications. Oh my gosh, Haley, I love it. Biotech. I think that would be the coolest field. I would love to do that. Oh yeah, Brittany. Yeah, those laws. Tennessee is Not my favorite state right now. I live here because my parents live here. That is the only reason. And some of the stuff they're focusing on is not, I feel like, is the state is not a priority, and when there are a lot of people that need help. And I honestly, if it wasn't for my parents, I would not be living here. We have talked about I wanna live near my brother regardless, and he lives with my parents right now, so of course, he him and my parents is the reason I'm here. And if anything ever happened to my parents, my brother and I have talked a lot about maybe Pennsylvania. My husband and I have talked about Colorado maybe. California is just out of our price range at this point. But yeah, moving somewhere else. I am as I've gotten older, I've gotten more left in my thinking, and I'm probably more left than even the current administration, like, at this point. Like, it's weird, instead of growing more conservative, I've went the exact opposite. And yeah, I don't like what's happening right now. It's hard to see this stuff, and it's hard to talk about it on here because I don't wanna, like, bring you guys down too. Like, I doom scroll on this stuff all the time, and it just feels like we're focusing on all the wrong things everywhere, and it just every day seeing that, it just tears on you as a person, and I don't wanna bring that into this chat because I'm trying to keep it upbeat a little bit. And plus, I mean, I know people have different feelings and thoughts, and I don't I'm not saying I don't wanna offend anybody, but I also am just tired of it. Like, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to avoid even talking about it because 'cause I'm just tired of having to put a filter on myself. Oh my gosh. Loretta, my oldest had a hole in her heart. Oh my goodness. Had a stroke at 19. Yeah, my mom, they were shocked that she was still up and kick had not had any major health problems other than just struggling to get pregnant, when she was trying to have me. Really, my mother never had any major health issues, and it was just crazy. A OBGYN caught her heartbeat being off. Of course, had been to doctors for years, doctors listening to her heart. Nobody had picked up on the irregular heartbeat until she went in for an OBGYN appointment, and Dr. Caldwell was his name, and he caught it, and she's just forever he's been her favorite because he caught it and nobody else had, and that's what led to them finding it. And it was scares me because I've seen some evidence that it can be genetic. So there's been times that I've, like, when I got the Holter monitor last year on my heart and stuff, and I start having those palpitations and stuff, I'm 41 now, gonna be 42 this year. I was like, what if I have one and nobody ever caught it? So they never found a problem with the Holter monitor. They haven't found a reason for the tachycardia, just like they haven't found a reason for the gastroparesis. So the medication, I'm grateful, manages it because it does not work for everybody. But so far, I can at least say that has helped immensely with my fatigue levels. Well, not immensely, but I mean, it's helped a lot with my fatigue levels because my heart's not racing as much as it used to. So I'm so glad that she was able to recover. Yeah, Brittany, you're talking about medications for anxiety because of all the side effects. Yep, I can only take buspirone for my anxiety because of all the other meds I take. The Savella cuts out a lot of different medications I can take just because of the conflicting side effects and stuff. Well, Colorful Dreams, I'm glad that they took care of your mother like that in regards to at least they were willing to help her with pain meds and such. At least she didn't have to deal with that as well. So, Oh gosh, Haley, I'm so sorry. I was seeing your post about, the anxiety meds and how they abuse the anxiety meds so they don't wanna prescribe them to you. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely what's the point of having the meds? What's the point of even offering the meds if you're not gonna actually offer them to people who need them? Just monitor it. Like, why they're for a while, they consider I think gabapentin's considered a controlled substance too because apparently people were taking it and taking it with other drugs, and it was enhancing the other drugs, and the gabapentin itself wasn't even the addicting medicine. It was because they were using it to enhance other drug use or something, like, it was ridiculous, and I think it's still a controlled substance, and it's like, "What the heck?" Like, fortunately, I didn't get any trouble with the pregabalin, the insurance just cleared that right off the bat. I do feel like they went from not using gabapentin and pregabalin at all for pain to I feel like they're using it a little too much now, like, they're trying to push that for pain management instead of pain meds. And the thing is, for chronic pain, yes, it can help, like a fibromyalgia or something like it can help if people can take it, but those meds come with a lot of side effects, more so than like your pain meds do, and for some people, yeah, just, oh, it's ridiculous. Haley, I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. Why have the meds if you're not gonna prescribe them? That's just it's just not right. I feel so bad for you for any of y'all that are on ADHD meds. I noticed my count dropped off a little bit. Hopefully that wasn't because I pissed anybody off. Um, uh, I feel so bad for the ADHD people right now because uh, Adderall has been out of, sorry, I was sitting here trying to figure out what these colors are. Adderall has been, um, hard to get for, like, probably close to a year now. I was briefly on Adderall when I was having severe fatigue problems. We tried it just to see if it would help with my fatigue, back when Josh was my doctor. And it helped. It got me through the mornings. It would drop off by mid-afternoons, which to this day I think still I'm still that way where I get so fatigued in the late afternoons. Um, but I started developing like tics, like my head would just tick back and forth without for no reason. And like my parents saw it and they freaked out and they were like, what is going on? Why are you doing that?" And so I had to stop taking it because that was what was causing it. But man, I they are really struggling, and the generic of it generic's hard to find too, but for a lot of people the generics don't always work. Um because they use maybe like different fillers, they might have a different reaction, or for some reason they just don't work as well as the actual name brand meds. So I feel so sorry, and they won't produce any more. Like that's a problem. They've been in, you know, why they've been in a shortage for so long? It's because more, like I guess more people are getting diagnosed with ADHD, and they started, more people went on the meds, they started having a shortage, and the EPA is like, "We're not gonna make any more." They're telling the manufacturers, "You can't make any more," because they consider it an addictive medicine because it's basically, med grade, like, speed or something. So, like, they're telling the manufacturers they can't make it anymore. They think it's being prescribed too much. So all these people that have been taking it for years are having to ration out their meds, and they're trying to work, they're trying to live. And I don't think this is going to be a problem just for them. I think this is gonna be a problem across the board soon. I think it's gonna affect a lot of people. So, I think it's gonna continue to be a shortage issue with meds. So, let me scroll through a bit, guys. I'm way behind. Woo! It jumped. Oh, no, I think I missed Haley, she already left. Oh, well, that's fine. Colorist question. The Amazon printed books, the paper is thinner or at least different. I I don't know. I haven't noticed a difference. So this is one I just got this past week, right? The Kauai one. When I colored the page, I didn't, at least with markers, I didn't notice a difference. Now, I don't use pencil very often. It might be a touch thinner because I feel like I couldn't really see. Well, maybe not. Like, I feel like, so this is an older Amazon book, obviously. It might be a touch thinner. You might be right. Because it feels like I can see the line art a lot more on this page. And it could just be it's darker line art. Well, if anybody else has noticed that, let me know because I haven't noticed it yet, but I also haven't been coloring very much lately. Oh, hey, that's good to know, Brittany. I didn't know the new Teresa Goodrich books have new paper. Well, if that's Creative Haven, I would think that's all the Creative Haven books then are on new paper. I haven't bought one since the It's a Cat's World back in November, so I have to see. Yep. I agree with you, Colorful Dreams. The Amazon paper is already borderline as it is, and a lot of people won't even bother with it because it's hard to use. Unless you're used to it and know how to work with it, it's hard to use. So I agree with you there. Well, so Colorful Dreams said it seems like when COVID hit, people started noticing mental illness and it caused a lot as well. Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that I feel like we should all still be locked down in our homes and like, that's hard on a lot of people. A lot of people are social people and they can't, you know, I feel like COVID was I mean, it had been I feel like things had been hard for a while, but I feel like COVID really started a string of events that really have messed with a lot of people's mental health, and it's just been hard. It's been hard on so many people. Like, I've been listening to a lot of coloring chats recently, and I thought I was struggling, and that's one of the things I've hesitated about doing videos, guys. It's not that I don't wanna do them or, like, these live streams. It's not that I don't wanna do them. It's I'm struggling so much, and feel so negative that it's hard to get on here because I don't wanna drag anybody down with me. And I know it's gotta be tiresome listening to somebody just complain all the time. And I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimist, I don't think, but I'm not an optimist either. I'm a realist. And it's hard for me. I'm not the type to keep like a gratitude journal and do all that. Like it probably wouldn't hurt for me to try. And there's nothing wrong with it. It works. That kind of stuff works well. Affirmations and stuff works well for a lot of people, but it just doesn't work for me. And I just don't want to depress anybody else along with me. And I think just the state of the world and, like, we're dealing with so many major problems that I think just everybody has started struggling, and mental health has always been, I'm happy that people are reaching out more because mental health's always had a stigma to it. I remember, I've been doing this almost 5 years on this channel, and one of the main reasons that I started doing this channel was I wanted to freely talk about having depression, having chronic illness, and feel like I could talk about it freely on here, hoping that other people that deal with that feel like they can talk about it too. Showing people that you can talk about it. It's okay, I guess, and just giving people a safe space to, you know, deal with that kind of stuff. And it's better these days, but it's still a problem. John Fetterman, I don't know if anybody's familiar, why y'all are familiar with him. He is the new state senator from Pennsylvania. I really admire Fetterman. I think he of the people I drag a lot of people in politics these days. I don't like any of them, but I really like Fetterman. And I feel like he is paving the way to drop that stigma because when he had that stroke and they think he had COVID, then he had that stroke right after. He's been recovering from that, but he's needed like accessibility tools to help because he's had some auditory processing and stuff. And I feel like he's a really good advocate for people who need accessibility tools. And he just recently went into the hospital. Like, I know he went in because he was having symptoms, but they didn't find anything. But he's went into the hospital to he's suffering from clinical depression. And the fact that one of our politicians, like somebody it's well known like that, was willing to acknowledge that they needed help and went to get it and is not apologetic about it just is huge to me because there's no telling. And I can imagine the struggles he's had since he's had a stroke, probably just trying to not being able to do things as well maybe as he used to and trying to deal with it. Trust me, I know all about that. Feeling like you can't do what you used to do because you got sick and having to deal with all the stuff like the Senate race and everything else. Like, no wonder. I would be surprised if the man didn't have some level of depression. So I'm just I think it's very admirable that he was willing to take that step, and it makes me mad that people think just because he has depression, he's unfit, because you're basically saying that anybody in your life that has depression or anxiety or mental illness like that is unfit to do anything. Like, it's they're still treating it like a stigma, and it really upsets me, and I hope we can get away from that. I think he's one of those that can help us get there, hopefully. Valerie, well, you see how slow I'm going here. So that's one of the reasons I'm taking my time in between and really looking at it and being like, okay, so that's part of the reason. This is the thing. This is why I only do this is why I usually only do color by numbers or simple images like this during a uh shoot, what am I trying to say? I think I did that wrong. During a live stream because oh, that's not a huge difference between the two, is it? Might as well just be better off just using this as a solid color. Let's just do that. Um, I really thought there was a difference there, but there's not a huge difference, so we're just gonna make it a solid color again. Um, yeah, this is why I do very simple images because I get to talking like this, and I can again, I'm not good at multitasking. I can't do color something and really focus on it and talk at the same time. So this is what we usually get. So we're getting there though. I think I might actually be able to finish this before I log off. Um so there's that at least. But yeah, no, mental health issues are not going to go away. I think it's going to continue to be a problem, and it it's hard. I don't sympathize. I empathize with people who were raised with the concept, just deal with it, bottle it up, and do what you got to do. And that's what I did. I had some things happen to me as a kid. Don't really wanna go into it tonight. Nothing to do my parents were great, my childhood other than this event was great. This involved another family member. Um, there's a lot of things I bottled up in the first 30 years of my life, and it led me to make a lot of bad decisions. And it took me seeing a therapist. I thought I was going to go through my second divorce. I thought I was the problem because my second husband was very verbally abusive and had me locked into thinking everything was my fault. I was the reason we, had a bad marriage, and it was all my fault because I just can't do anything right. And hang on, I don't think I used the vermilion at all, did I? Let's put it here. I might be able to color over some of this stuff. So let's use the vermilion. Um, I went to the therapist convinced I was a problem, convinced that I probably needed to check myself in somewhere and that I was going to be the cause of my second divorce. And what's funny is 2 or 3 years later, I did indeed have a divorce go through a divorce, but it was actually the thing I needed to do. Let's go back over this. Might make it a slightly different color, which will mix it up a little. Um, which was funny because actually, come to find out, the divorce was exactly what I needed to do because he was a piece of shit. Oh boy, it's late. The filter is going, y'all. Um, I have no qualm saying that. Divorcing him was one of the best moves I ever made in my life. Should have never married that son of a bitch. Anyway, took therapy though, and it took me unbottling all that, and because I felt like I deserved to be treated like crap, and all that stuff that happened to me as a kid, I had taken on as my fault, and so I felt like somehow I deserved to be treated like crap. And so I had to go through a lot of therapy. And that woman, love her to this day. I still wish I could see her, but she's all the way in Nashville and I just can't make that drive. I used to be when I worked in Nashville, and she helped bring me out of my shell. She helped me actually become confident and realize I deserved better. And he saw that the gravy train was going away. And once he realized I wasn't put up with nonsense anymore, he went looking for younger blood, I guess is the way to put it. And I guess I'm grateful he did because that saved it from being an even nastier divorce because he still felt somewhat guilty about it. So saved me a lot of headache, let me tell you. Oh Lord. But yeah, no, I was still seeing a therapist. I found a really good one in the town over next over from me. And she went back to school. So I she recommended somebody else at the practice to me. And I liked her okay, but she wasn't really all it was a venting session. I was going in there every week telling her what all was going wrong. I'd spend the time talking about that, but we wouldn't work on any of it. We wouldn't look at it and dive deep into anything. And it just after a while felt like it's a weekly venting session. Heck, I can do that on my channel for free, right? So I stopped going to her. I probably should be seeing somebody, but again, it would have to be telehealth. And I have a feeling it's hard to find a therapist right now because so many more people are dealing with mental health issues. And thankfully, they are going through actually reaching out for it. I'm glad people are doing that. Um, sorry, I was noticing a few things, a few little areas. Let's check the chat. Oh no, colorful dreams. I hate that. Well, it's Look, I have I have seen enough studies to know that getting COVID itself is still dangerous. I don't care. Okay, listen, I don't care what the CDC says. I don't care what the president says. They want us to go back to work, and they don't care if we get sick while we do it. My filter's coming off right now. If you get mad, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. If you want to stick your head in the sand and forget and be convinced that COVID is not a big deal, then I'm sorry. This this is probably not going to be what you want to hear, and if not, fine. But I'm just tired of like I have my parents, thankfully. My dad was a has been he does maintenance and now, but for years he was a safety manager. So my dad's big on safety. He is well aware of how well masks work in environments, especially like in chemical environments. Anything like he knows how effective masks are. And the one thing I am so grateful for is that my parents, while they tend to be conservative, are also sm- not smart. That's not the way to put that. They're also very careful people. And my dad's always been very safety conscious type of person. And from day one, it's been when they go out, they wear masks. My mom still goes out. Like for all the health issues my mom has, she does still go out, but she wears an N95 mask. She wears it even with her oxygen on. She wears it. She'll go in and they don't go places and stay long, and they always go in places where it's very open air, like a Publix or something, where on times of day and days where there's not many people, um, but they limit how often they go out. They do no none of us go and eat at restaurants. Um and it's all at the end of the day, as much as I don't wanna get extra sick, I don't wanna give anything to my mom. My mom is very fragile, and my dad's not a spring chicken either, right? My dad's also older, and so the last thing in the world any of us want is for my parents to get sick, and so from day one, it's always been protect ourselves and protect our parents. So my brother, when he goes to his job to this day, he still masks. My dad, when he goes to work, he still wears a mask. Fortunately, they're both in places where they don't have a lot of people in their offices, so they're kind of isolated during the day. And but when they go out to the store, they still do store pickups when they can, which I'm conflicted about because I know people they're having trouble hiring people at stores because they don't pay them enough. And I know the more pickups you do, the harder it is on the workers. But I also know the danger of being, well, first off, I can't handle being in a store for 2 or 3 hours getting groceries. I just can't physically do it anymore. And secondly, it's such a risk to go in there because nobody's wearing a mask anymore. And so like I'm grateful that my parents are like that. Rest of my family, very I'm pretty sure they're almost if they hadn't actually gotten COVID, they'd be convinced it's a hoax. Like they're just and my parents don't mingle with the rest of my family much anymore because of that. Because at the end of the day, my dad, as much as he loves his side of the family, we don't talk about my mom's side of the family. We don't do anything with them. But all her brothers and sisters and her uh, parents have died. Like the immediate family was fine with some issues, but the extended family, no, we don't have anything to do with for related issues from when I was a kid. Um, for many reasons, but that is one of them. But my dad's side of the family, I love them dearly. I do, but they just don't and so many of them my dad's the youngest of his brothers and sisters, and so many of them are having complications from getting sick, and, like, they're just my dad's not gonna risk my mom like that, and he's just not gonna do it. As much he loves his family, he's not gonna risk my mom, and I respect that. So, anyway, but saying that, we don't I don't live like I can't live that I don't live like I can't leave my house. My brother and I actually go to a convention every year in Philadelphia. And last year we went. The year before they required masks, and it was in October. They delayed it. And it was great. October, I feel like, is one of the best times of the year in terms of risk. Like September, October last year, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but, like, we went in October and it was everybody required masks, everybody wore masks, there was tons of people there, but it felt safe, like, everything was cool. Last year, masks recommended, and I took it was it was very stressful, but we still went, we still wore our masks, we still did fine, we just were careful, we had an air filter in our hotel room, we were I would say the biggest danger was the flight other than the convention, and so as long as we stayed masked on the flight, like, we were fine. It worked out okay, and, we're gonna go this year. I think we're gonna drive this year because a couple of his friends wanna go and they don't wanna fly. Plus, last year we had so many problems with our flights that I think this year we're just I don't wanna drive. It's like 13 hours. I really don't wanna drive, but he really wants his friends to be able to go, and I'm willing to drive, like, 1 year just to see what it's like, right? So, as long as we're all splitting it up, I think it'll be cool. But, like, we're going with his friends this year, and it's I'm a little nervous about that because I don't think his friends they're cautious, but I don't know if they're as cautious as my brother, but we'll just have to kinda see. So, I mean, I'm not s I hate that people feel like they can't leave their house, and this attitude that it's over, that it's gone, that people look at you like you're a freak when you're out wearing a mask right now. No, I mean, no wonder people who are immunocompromised or older or are disabled, like, are scared to leave their house at this point because nobody seems everybody seems to have forgotten about them. And it's a damn shame, and it pisses me off so bad. Anyway. Oh gosh. I think that's a great idea, Colorful Dreams, the series on mental health. I definitely need to start watching people's channels more. Because I haven't been coloring much, I haven't been watching people's channels, so I need to get back to that. I would love to see that series. So, I don't know if it came up, Colorful Dreams. I don't see your link in the chat. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Brittany, that's awesome that you've managed to not picked it up. That is especially as a grocery store as a bagger. I feel like it's things are so hard right now for I feel like people that work at grocery stores and like fast food and stuff. Like you didn't get paid enough before. I don't feel like you get paid enough now. And like in a lot of places, I know there's not enough people because they can't hire people at the wage that they're offering. And so a lot of people are short staffed and stuff. And so I try to be really conscious and kind when I go to like, I remember I went to Whataburger. My dad, they opened a Whataburger in the town my parents live in next to us. And my dad wanted to try it one night. I came to stay the night with him. I told him I'd go pick it up and waited outside an hour for the order. Didn't get mad. Was totally fine because I knew they were swarmed. But the thing was, I think they just they forgotten about our order, so I had to call. And the girl that came out looked like she had PTSD from a war. I mean, she just looked terrified. She just jumping at every little noise. It was just like constantly like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. And like cringing, like she was just expecting me to rip into her. And I'm like, it's okay, like, it's fine, and I felt so bad for her, and I know she's not the only one dealing with that, like, people are getting really again, this ties back to the mental health discussion. I think people's tempers have really shortened. A lot of people are just throwing, like, childlike tantrums in public, and they're just like, they're bottling everything up, and then they're taking it out on the Starbucks barista who accidentally gets the order wrong or something, so they unleash, like, 3 years worth of anger and whatnot on this one person, like, I feel like the abuse of service workers has went through the roof the last 2 or 3 years, and it's a problem, like, I'm not surprised people don't wanna work in that environment, so I have deep admiration for anybody that's doing that too, so I try my damnedest to be kind. Like I said, I struggle with even, like, Walmart pickup because I know it's hard on the workers, but I also am like, I know physically I can't do this myself. So it's I don't know, it's tough. It's tough. I'm so sorry, Loretta. I'm sorry you've had to deal with that so many times. I've worried about you each time you've mentioned you've had it, and I know with your other health issues, that's the last thing in the world that you need, so yeah, see where I live. So obviously I'm done here. Isn't it pretty? It actually turned out really good. I like that we added the extra colors in here. And this was pretty cool. For those of you that are curious that do have the color cube, this was number 417. I believe this is in the second box in the set, and it was like just the orange palette is what I would call it. And yeah, it turned out really cool. I like this a lot. I think on the days where I want to color something, but I don't want to color something too extensive, this will be what I want to do. I really would like to start something else, to be honest, but it's so late. I think we're going to talk for maybe another 10 minutes and then I'll wrap it up about 9. That's usually the time I feed the cats anyway. So, um, oh yeah. So like Instacart, Shipped, DoorDash, any of those delivery services where I live, it's not accessible to me. Or if they even offer it, it's such an exorbitant delivery fee. It makes absolutely no sense. Like I live no, more like 40 minutes from the closest Walmart or Kroger. So like the big stores, like there's no way I can do Instacart or anything. And cuz I live in the next town over. And trust and believe my mom was laughing the other night. So my mom's put on a few pounds, which is good for her because she is stick thin. And she put on a few pounds because she's finally starting to be able to eat a little better. It's taken a long time just for her stomach to heal and for all, most of her health issues to get in order. She finally got to where she's starting to eat again. And she joked that the reason she's like, thanks to dad, I'm eating more. And I was like, "Oh, has dad been enticing you with, like, new recipes? Because they really like to cook and use new recipes." And she's like, "No, it's because he goes and gets food for us all the time." And I laughed because where my parents live, like, there's so many options. Either my dad can go pick it up or they can do DoorDash. And, like, I am telling y'all, if I lived in a place where DoorDash was available, like, I would weigh 50 pounds more than I do right now. Like, one of the things that's probably keeping me at I'm at about 250, and I have no problem saying that. I'm about 5'5", so I'm a pretty thick gal. And one of the things, fortunately, 2 things that are probably keeping me from gaining a massive amount of weight more is A, my husband cooks. I mean, we cook and eat food here at the house like 95% of the time. I usually go out to Sonic once a week to get, like, mozzarella sticks because that's my treat for for surviving another week, and, because we have a Sonic in town. We have, like, 2 or 3 we have Sonic, Hardee's, and Taco Bell, and Subway. We have 2 pizza places, not chain. We have 3 Mexican restaurants in a town of 1,000. We have 3 Mexican restaurants. We have 1 meat and 3 Southern style place. We used to have a really good barbecue place, that, um, closed because he just couldn't get enough workers, and, it's a shame. I hate any small businesses that have to close during this, but I also am of the thought you cannot expect to be able to pay people minimum wage anymore. Like, it just people cannot survive on that with inflation anymore. Like, it just Like, as much as I love the guy who ran the barbecue place, like, I've been supporting him for years. He had started with a food truck and, great food, but, like, he could never pay his people more than minimum wage, and he had trouble keeping people, and I was like, "Well, no wonder." I was like, I mean, it's just you can't do it, like, people can't survive on that anymore, and it's like, if you can't pay your employees a living wage, then I just don't know if you should be in business, and that's my personal opinion, but, I mean, I really feel that. Anyway, I don't know why we have 3 Mexican restaurants. The first one we had was a perfectly good, fantastic one, and that's the one we still use to this day. I know nothing about the other 2 because we have our place we go, and we go like, we went last month, and I think we hadn't went every time we go to pick up the food, we're like, "We should do this more often because 'cause they're inexpensive, they're delicious food every time. I love their taco salad. Um but I mean, we went to Logan's last weekend and picked up food just because it was next to Walmart, and it was delicious, but we don't have that kind of stuff near us very often, so we just cook so much more. So, yep, Loretta, that would be really cool. I thought about, like, the meal delivery services too. I think those would work really well, like, if the portion sizes is what I've heard's, like, the biggest thing about those is, like, their assumption of portion sizes for, like, 2 people is definitely not what I would consider portion sizes for 2 people, but if it was just, like, for me, like and I don't know, some of them might be better than others, so I've thought about those as well just for some different stuff, so oh, bye, Valerie. Glad you could come by. Really enjoyed it. Oh, wow, Loretta, that is awesome. Congratulations. I love that for you. Yep. See, you're doing it you're getting the double benefit from it. So, like, you're taking it for the diabetes, but it's also helping with the weight loss, so that's great. I love that. I don't know what I'm going to do, like, there are some days that, y'all, I feel like I might eat 1 meal and that's it. Like, I easily stay under 1,000 calories for the day. And then some days I'll eat a little more, but, like, I really don't think I'm overeating. Now, when I have kid cereal in the house, I love, like, like, the Malta cinnamon toasters and, like, the crunch berries with marshmallows. When I have the kid cereal in the house, I'm eating a lot of calories and sugar with that, and I realize that. That is my stress food, and I'm having a really hard time cutting away from that right now. It also is because it's so heavily processed, it's easier on my stomach. So it was funny a few years back when I couldn't figure out what was wrong with my stomach. Um, when they couldn't figure out what was wrong with my stomach, I noticed, and the stupid stomach doctor wouldn't listen to me until like 3 visits in finally. I noticed when I would go eat, like at Wendy's or eat a fast food meal, I felt fine. But when I ate something heavy in vegetables or ate something with a lot of fiber, that's when I started getting nauseous. That's when I started having trouble with my stomach. And it was crazy because it felt like the complete opposite of, what they tell you is healthy. And I was like, "What is wrong with my stomach?" So when they finally figured out, I would tell them I would eat, and I literally wouldn't feel hungry for another 8 to 10 hours. It finally dawned on them to do the gastroparesis test, and then that's when we found out that my digestion's super slow. Again, to this day, they don't know why, which is what I was hoping the rheumatologist could look at all this. I keep having stuff happen and nobody has an explanation for it. So I keep hoping that one of my doctors will be like, "Oh, hey, you've developed this other stuff. You might actually have this." And nobody wants to do that, it seems. Now that I've had my fibro diagnosis, everybody's like, "Oh, you have fibro. who cares, I guess, about everything else, even though gastroparesis and tachycardia are not fibro symptoms. But anyway, so like processed food's easier for me to digest, which is bad for me because that's my comfort food. So like white bread, white pasta, all the things that you really shouldn't eat when you're pre-diabetic and you have PCOS and you should be going for more less sugary, less processed foods. I Those are my comfort foods, and they're also the easiest on my stomach. So, it's almost impossible for me because 'cause I'll get to where I like eating apples and peanut butter. Well, the apples are raw, and so then if I eat too many of those, then I start hurting, and I'm miserable, and I'm bloated, and I feel terrible. And then I turn around and eat a cheeseburger, and I feel fine. Like, how easy it's hard. It's really hard. Like, I just still struggle, and I love vegetables. I love fruit. Like, I good fruit, if it's, like, good and ripe, I would take a ripe watermelon over even the cereal any day. But, um, like, just and watermelon's okay, but things like apples, berries are okay, but it's just yeah, I do not need to eat very much broccoli, even steamed broccoli apparently because it's so fibrous. If it stays in my stomach too long, it can, like, a s turn into, like, a stone or something, and then they have to go in surgically and take it out. Like, I can't even t and I love broccoli. I love, like, vegetables, and I can't even eat them unless they're, like, really cooked down, and I hate it because I love salads and stuff too, so I don't know. I just feel like I have it all against all of it's against me, and then I also am not very active anyway, and it's hard for me to be active because I hurt so easily, so it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm just trying to survive. The the doctor asked me Tuesday, all the students said was, "Have you talked about losing weight or exercise?" And I said, "No." Based on the no, she asked 0 follow-up questions, and I respect her for that because I just was not ready for that. Like, that is not it's just not on my radar right now. I'd have no room for it. So, yeah, I knew Loretta was a night owl type. So, looks like you and Colorful Dreams have got that in common. I just I get wrecked if I go off my routine. So, like, once a month, I have to not take my Ambien in a 30 or 31 day month, or 31 day month, excuse me. I think I have to skip one night of my Ambien because they only fill 30 days at a time, and they will only fill on that 31 days or whatever. Like, I have to I asked my doctor about it Tuesday, and he said he's never heard of that. It's at the same pharmacy in the same building. And he's like, "I'll go talk to him about that." And I went to fill it Thursday, and guess what? They still only gave me 30. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's an insurance thing. I don't know if it's just the pharmacy being the awful pharmacy that it is. It's like the only game in town I have because the other one doesn't accept my insurance and there's no other pharmacy in town. But that one night just wrecks me, like, cause I can't sleep, and it's like, I have to do it during the weekend because I wouldn't be able to work otherwise if I had to deal with that, but man, if my routine gets disrupted through pain, through whatever, and I don't sleep for 2 or 3 days, you might as well just put a out order sign on me and just push me on a couch somewhere and just let me be, cause I am useless to the world. I used to prefer doing stuff at night. I used to be a night owl, but man, once that insomnia started, like, it was just so critical for me to get good quality sleep as much as I can that, I just can't be that way anymore. I have to and it sucks because I feel like I go against my natural rhythm. I tend to be someone who sleeps. I noticed when I was off work and such years ago, the best sleep and when I'm off, on vacation, my best sleep is when I go to sleep at 12 or 1 and I sleep till, like, 10 or 11. That's like if I'm left to my own devices, that's what I naturally cling to, and I'll even go a little later and get up a little later, but I just can't do that. Just can't do that with my office hours are 10 to 6. So, most of my people are on the east I mean, excuse me, most of my workers are other coworkers are on the West Coast, my stakeholders, some of them are in Australia, so they're on later in the day, and so I have to be available later in the day, and it sucks. I hate having to work till 6, but it does give me a little time to sleep in the morning, so yeah. I know we're going over. I'm not done talking. Bone specialist, I wasn't doing shots to my joints because I wasn't after temporary fix. Oh, yeah, and those are painful as hell too. I've had a couple they asked me if that I remember my knees flared up and they were like, "Do you wanna do shots in the joints in your knees?" I looked at them like, "Hell no." 'Cause, yeah, you're right, it's a temporary fix. I had to and that was when I last time I had to go through physical therapy. Yeah, and, I guess there has been weakness issues over the years now that I think about it, because I've had to have physical therapy for my hips and my knees over the years, where they've just gotten so weak, they've started causing me constant pain that I can't stand. I go to physical therapy, just doing the basic movements would build them up enough to send me on my way, and I'm just kinda wait the knees one was the year before last, so see if they have samples. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Next time I see John, I might see the last time when Elena realized that was happening, she didn't have Zolpidem, which is the generic for Ambien, was what I take. I take 6.25 milligrams, take a really weird dose. I don't even take the full 10 because it's too much and it makes me drowsy. And five's not enough. But she gave me something else. I think it was Lunestra is what she had a sample of, and she's like, "Try this on the night that you have to skip." And like it didn't work, sadly. So, but that might not be a bad idea next time to ask him. I mean, maybe trying a higher dose of that if that's all they have would be better to have that at home than nothing. So, I was telling my mom the other day, I know you're not supposed to take Ambien for long periods of time. And, okay, colorful dreams, no problem. Thank you so much. Yeah, we've been here for a while. I'm gonna wrap up. Hugs to you too. Thank you so much. I'll be sure to check out your lives and stuff on your Instagram. So thanks for letting us know. But yeah, there's still quite a few people on, I guess, lurking in the background. Um, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Um, yeah. Anyway, so what was I gonna say? Okay. I'll say this and then I'll probably go offline. So one of the things that's got me so upset, and it's funny because I've spent 3 hours and I haven't talked about it. And after this, I guess I really need to go because cats are gonna need to be fed. But it's funny, this happened. So I mentioned I've worked remote for 10 years and right at 10 years. And I was very fortunate because my previous job, they don't that you just couldn't find remote jobs a decade ago, right? Like they just weren't there. And so my previous job was all remote. And then when I got hired at this new company that I'm not going to say their name, big company, they I was hired remote. And most of their I mean, all my like, none of my coworkers are in Nashville. They're all spread out. I've got Texas, Boston, DC, San Diego, Seattle, California, like, they're just spread out. Plus, my stakeholders are, like, in Europe and in Australia and all across North America, so it wasn't unusual, right? I'm used to that, and so I was like, that was the big reason I applied for this job because it was gonna be remote, and I was like, "This is what I strive," this is my best work, and, they have an office in Nashville, but made it very clear, my manager's like, everybody else works remote. We do get together occasionally for like we fly to one location to do like team building stuff every so often. That's why I did in September is I went to Seattle and it was really cool. Um and they've cut travel now because they're cost cutting and they laid off some people. And so in the last 5 months, it's been a little stressful. I had worked as a contractor before, and my assumption when I got this job was, "Hey, I'm a full-time employee for once at a big company." And so I feel like I have some job security, right? And it has not felt like that in the last 3 or 4 months. And they just made an announcement that they want people to return to the office 3 days a week starting, later this year, and I'm trying very hard. I probably shouldn't have said even that much, but I'm panicking because I don't know if that includes me. I'm part of one of their other groups. I'm not part of the main company. And my manager was out most of the day Friday. They didn't even know. They didn't send an email or nothing. And like, I don't even think my managers knew until we did. And so I'm panicking because I don't know if this means that I'm expected to drive to Nashville. The last time I had to drive to Nashville in work hour traffic was when I saw that doctor in December. It took 2 hours to get to downtown Nashville. 2 hours. And I don't know. I'm so upset. I'm upset because there was nothing given, like, the assumption, like, when this was asked about 6 months ago, the assumption was there was no foreseeable plans for a return to office situation, and I am incensed at these companies that are making their workers go back into the office when remote has work been so life-changing for people, and I just when there are some people that wanna go in the office, I'm not saying that they can't and they shouldn't be able to, but, like, it was such a big incentive, and with, like, inflation and everything else happening in the last few years, it was probably a help for a lot of people who, like, their paychecks just aren't buying as much as it used to, so that cut down on, like, gas and commuting and stuff like that, and so I'm a huge Yeah, I'm a huge remote work advocate just because I've been doing it so long, and I don't I don't agree with the reasons, and I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Monday, I'm sure we'll talk about it, and I never had to go into an office. Like I said, I was hired remote, however, my office is labeled as Nashville. So I don't know what that means, and I don't know what that means for me. It makes no sense because there's nobody in the Nashville office that I work with. So I'm on meetings. I've never had a job with so many meetings. I'm on meetings like most days, probably 3 or 4 hours. And like I can't imagine being in a building full of people. All the meeting rooms they say are usually full if everybody's in there. And so I can't understand how I can do meetings in an office full of people like that. But I don't know. It was just another kick, I guess. No wonder morale is low across the board in a lot of places. Again, talking about mental health and just things have not been like I know everybody's worried about the economy and everybody's worried about a recession and stuff. And so that's not helping. And a lot of companies are making making decisions like this. And it's no wonder morale is low. No wonder people are feeling down because yeah, it's just I feel like it's a big struggle and it's a big panic for me. Like I said, I was really hesitant about talking about it, but like at this point, it's just I don't know. And I'm not going to say, you know, I just have to wait and see on Monday. There's no real sense in trying to decide or think of how I'm going to do this because we would have to get another car. We would have our cars. We have ancient cars. We have a 2003 Cavalier and we have a 1998 Toyota truck. That is how old our vehicles are because we both work remote and we don't have to drive very far very often. We don't have not had to put in the money to buy a new car. Now, that was the plan this year because, the other ones are starting to get a lot of maintenance on them. We're probably going to trade the truck in because we don't need it as much anymore as we haven't been hauling off as much. We were going to get a newer vehicle just for reliability purposes. But man, if I have to go to Nashville 2 or 3 days a week, we have to get a newer car. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I do not feel like those vehicles are gonna stand a trip to Nashville 2 or 3 days a week. So, yeah, I've been a little bummed because of that. I wish I hadn't dropped on a Friday. I wish we had had more time. But in saying that oh, and yeah, okay, so I guess I'll say this too. Sorry, guys. Um, we did have the appointment with Scamper this week. So for those of you that saw my coloring chat last weekend and saw the Instagram, Scamper they think had a mini stroke last week. I had to take her to the Nashville emergency vet. Um, she recovered just fine. They think it was a mini stroke. There's really apparently nothing you can do with cats and strokes. They tend to happen in older cats and they don't really do blood thinners. And unless their blood pressure's super high, they're not going to do any blood pressure meds. So you just, yeah, they just recover, hopefully recover. And I guess, I don't know, but she was already bouncing back. However, I had them do an ultrasound on her stomach just while she was there because we were talking about her struggle with eating. They found there was a thickening in her stomach and intestines, which is usually either a sign of irritable bowel disease or cancer, like more likely a lymphoma. And they said we could do an endoscopy biopsy to see what it is to confirm it's a cancer. And then, it could either be lymphoma or something called an adenosarcoma. And depending on the type of cancer, then there's chemo. And they said cats can really tolerate chemo really well. I thought she might be an anesthesia risk. However, she's only a 2 out of 5, which is not bad. Five's like really bad. And they said their hospital, because their oncology and they do specialists and stuff, they deal with a lot of 2 and 3 risk patients. They have an anesthesiologist on staff that does like specific plans for animals. Like this was not going to be a cheap thing. Let me tell you, it was going to be a $4,000 procedure, and which was fine was fine. Fine for me. I know it's not nobody, not a lot of people can say that, but that was the one thing for as hard as things have been, the one thing I've been very fortunate about is that I could have done the procedure if it was beneficial, and not worried about it. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I shouldn't treat it so lightly. I don't mean to, I know not very many people can do that or would do that, but so I am lucky in that regard. But I thought, if she could handle the chemo even at 16, maybe we should do it. Even though, because she's spunky, right? She's not acting like she's all that sick. She's just acting difficult when she eats sometimes. And she's a little loopy because of the gabapentin. She's a little wobbly. So I talked to my vet this week and they said, she said, so she said, here's the thing. She said, I don't think it's adenosarcoma. She said, if it was adenosarcoma, it's very aggressive cancer. She would have like, she would we're talking 6 months, right? Like, it would have moved so fast. She said she has been having trouble eating now for almost 2 years. Like, she just started losing weight about 2 years ago. She said, "I don't think it's adenosarcoma at all, because she wouldn't have lasted this long." She said, "It's either lymphoma or IBD." And she said, "Really and truly," she said, "I'll be honest with you, the chemo for lymphoma in cats is very, very hard. It's very harsh on cats." She said, "I would even be hesitant if I had a cat that was 9 or 10, maybe." But she said, "For an older cat, it's just gonna be really hard on them." She said, "I wouldn't do it with my cat." And, she said, "It's probably a slow-moving lymphoma," though she said, "I wouldn't rule out IBD if she's been dealing with it this long." And she said, "If you're," and I said, "Okay, if it's that hard on her, I'm not gonna do the chemo." So she's like, "Well, then do we really need to do the procedure? Because whether it's lymphoma or IBD, the same treatment, if you're not doing chemo, is the same. It's prednisone, it's a steroid." And, she said, "Do you really wanna do the procedure just to know?" And I was like, "Not really. I don't, wanna knock her out and put a scope down her throat, just even though we're gonna use the same thing regardless of what it is." So, the prognosis is basically the same. She's on technically what we call palliative care, which means, the steroid will help some one way or the other. She's on an appetite stimulant. She's got gabapentin if she's got any sort of stomach pain. We're basically managing her pain and everything. And just because it's been so slow moving, who knows how long she has. She might have a month. I don't know, she might have another year in her. I mean, we really don't know. But it helped a lot talking to my vet, because they were encouraging it, and I think because she was a good candidate for it, but I was also like, "Hey, these people are gonna make money off this procedure." So, as nice as they are, I don't know if I 100% trust that this is solely for her benefit and not that they make a little money off of it. So I wanted to talk to my vet. So, she had gained a pound, though. She went to weigh her and she said, "She's gained a pound since last month." And she looked shocked, and I was like, "Really?" Like, "We've been feeding her cooked chicken breasts. I hope that's okay. It's plain." And she's like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "Whatever she wants at this point. As long as she's getting plenty of cat food that has the vitamins and stuff she needs." She's like, "That's fine as a supplement." She's like, "She gained a pound, so there you go." And, so yeah, we're gonna do the prednisone. She is living the best life. Her only complaint is she's not getting enough chicken. That will be her complaint for probably the rest of her life, is it will never be enough chicken for her. For as much as she is picky about eating, she does love her some chicken. I've even snuck her a few pieces of plain, pork tenderloin, and normally she doesn't handle that very well, but she has handled that really good recently. So, poor girl, she's so spoiled, she gets everything. So, I wanted to mention that because I knew some people were probably curious, and if they're still watching at the end of 3 hours, um, then, that's the update. I'll probably mention it again next time, but um, I I thought I'd be a lot more distraught when I knew what the news was probably gonna be and what the best decision would be, and I thought I'd be more distraught, but in all honesty, I feel like I've known this for a while, and the shock really was when I heard the ultrasound results and stuff, and I think I processed most of it then. So, like, when we got back from the vet, she's in good spirits. She's 16. She's I don't know. I'm gonna be a lot more upset probably if she starts declining, is when I'm going to be more upset. But for right now, she's still kinda thriving and doing well, so I'm not as worried about her right now, I guess. So, yeah, that's not a bad idea, Loretta. I mean, at this point, anything helps, and if there's some foods that I can in the IBD diet that I could try with her that she would eat, it ain't gonna hurt her. And like you said, if anything, it may help. So that's not a bad idea at all. I'm more worried about Sidonia. She goes in on Monday, and I can't get that girl to hardly eat any wet food. She's been eating some, a fair amount of dry, but she's at right at 6 pounds. She's supposed to be like 7, at least 7, and I can't get her to put on any weight, and she's just not thriving. Like Scamper's thriving. She's happy as can be, and Sid's all right, but I can tell like something's still bugging her. So she I gotta drop we gotta drop her off Monday. I'm gonna, we've tried an appetite stimulant. She's still just not eating enough. I've had to syringe feed her a few nights just to make sure she got enough in her. And she hates it and I hate it, but I don't know. And she's 18 now. She's a couple years older than Scamper. They had seen some issues with her pancreas, like she had pancreatitis when she had to go in and stay at the vet for those nights. And so I don't know if it's just still problems there. She's on gabapentin, she's on the stimulant, and it just doesn't seem like it's really improved anything. Like I've got a camera on her at night, on the dry food bowl at night, so I know whether or not she's eating. And she's eating enough to maintain, but and she'll get in the box. Like, she has a box she gets into for her meals, and she'll jump in the box like she's waiting for me to put the food down, and I will put the food down, and then she will look at it, look at me, and then jump back out of the box. And let me tell you, I have got a small grocery store's worth of cat food back there. Like, I have at least a dozen different cat food flavors, at least, probably closer to 2 dozen. And I have tried everything with her, even the cooked chicken, and she's just not having it. So I don't know what's going on with her. I'm more worried about her than Scamper right now, to be quite honest. I may actually ask them. Dr. Mandy said, my vet said that we could do an ultrasound on her while we're at it. And I said, yeah, maybe we should do that. So maybe they can do that on her on Monday. Maybe we can kind of look and see. I mean, it would be weird if she had the same issues that Scamper had, but I guess it wouldn't be in this house. I guess it would be weird in most houses, but in this house, I guess it wouldn't be all that weird because we are the weird ones here. If I had nickel for every time I had a vet say, I've never seen that in a cat before, I would have plenty to pay my vet bills. So, if y'all can, just, I don't know, think good thoughts for Sidonia, Scamper too, of course, and all the cats, and cross your fingers that, maybe Monday we can finally figure out what's causing her issues, and it's something we can help her improve her appetite on. So, because I don't know at this point what's going on, but so it's been a rough week, as you can say. Um, oh yeah, is it Blue Buffalo, Loretta? I think that's probably what you're talking about. Yes, Bagheera, I hear you. I know it is 9:30 and you are ready for your dinner. Anyway, as you can tell, it's been a rough week. A lot of appointments, a lot of oh, okay, yep, Blue Buffalo. I've tried some of the foods with the cats. They just nah, they ain't really like them much. I can't. I've lost, and it's awful. I should have kept a running list. I will in a minute. He can. Okay, Bagheera's like 17 pounds. Boy can wait a few minutes. Like he he is not wasting away. Um, and I'm not holding any hope Sidonia is going to eat wet food tonight. So I I tell you, nothing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Nothing ruins my day like a cat that doesn't want to eat. And when I have two or three cats that don't want to eat on a night, I just get so upset. Not at them, but just frustrated because I just want them to eat. Oh, he thinks he might. Absolutely. Well, the outdoor not my cats need. Ooh, there's a new not my cat. Heck, I panicked one morning. So we have two Ring doorbells we have not mounted yet. And those are my cameras right now. And I'm gonna buy some more because I actually like having the camera on the food bowl. But we have a camera outside on the food bowl at night where I open up the porch so they can get on the porch. And um, I have a camera out there so I can make sure Taco, who's kind of our cat because we've chipped him and neutered him, make sure at least Taco shows up to eat. But like I'll see Wesley show up. We've had a raccoon. We've had a what they call them, garbage cat. I've had a garbage cat show up a few times, a raccoon in there. But one night it really scared me because when I woke up and I was looking through the camera from the night before, and I saw a cat out there that looked almost just like Sidonia. The tip of the tail looked orange, and it was a white cat, and I swear it was her when I first looked at her, and I was like, "Oh my god, did we leave her out on the porch?" And I had to go run and make sure she was in the house. And sure enough, she was in the house. So it was a new cat, and it had followed Wesley over. We joked and said it was Wesley's girlfriend for a few nights, but now it's showing up on its own. And I haven't laid eyes on it. I only know through the camera. So it's too shy to come around me. I don't know anything about that cat. I don't know if it's fixed. I don't know if it's a boy or girl. I hope to God if it's a girl, it's fixed, and if it's a boy, it's fixed too, but especially if it's a girl, I I already had to deal with a couple pregnant cats around here, and it's yeah, I don't want another one, but people around here don't take care of their cats, and so it wouldn't surprise me. But Taco is neutered. Hopefully Wesley is too, but I've never been able to catch him, so I can't verify. But, maybe, maybe not, so we're gonna cross our fingers. Oh, I'm waiting for it, Loretta. That's the biggest fear I've had about opening up the porch like that has been a skunk, and especially because when I go out in the mornings, I have to make sure there's nothing on the porch before I let the cats back out on the porch, and I, like, close the door and stuff, and it would be even worse if the skunk decided to get one of the little cat houses out there, and if I went out there one morning and scared that thing, like, oh my god, like, I'm terrified that's gonna happen. I'm hoping to get a better I have an outdoor camera I'm hoping we can mount on, like, the top edge of the porch that gives me a better bird's eye view of the entire porch so that at night, I can just make sure nothing is staying on the porch in the morning, so I don't surprise anything when I go out there, and that's been one of my biggest fears, but it's been honestly really helpful. It's a pain to do because I absolutely have to make sure all the cats are in, and, like, I have to count them. I have to make sure, and I'm terrified I'm accidentally gonna leave somebody on the porch at night and they're gonna get out. That's, like, my biggest fear right now, but ever since it got cold, I have felt so much more comfortable having that 'cause it's a covered porch, a screened-in porch. I wedged the door so only the cats and small animals can get through, and we have roaming dogs in the neighborhood that end up eating any food I leave out that they can get to. So this allows me to know that Taco in particular is getting food, and it keeps it all it's not I'm not mad at them, they're just doing their thing. It's the people that own the dogs that I have the problem with. I'm so ready to move, y'all. Like, if the interest rates on houses weren't like 8% and houses weren't crazy overpriced right now, we would so be looking to buy something else. It's just everything we need, doctors, my family's in the next town over and stuff, like, everything would be so much easier and so much closer if we just moved to the next town over. And, I'm also just tired of the attitude around here. Like, this is a very deep conservative area, and it just doesn't I feel uncomfortable talking to anybody hardly in this town anymore because, I just don't feel like I belong anymore. Um, and not the next town's gonna be any better, but, it'll be slightly better, maybe. This is a pretty red area all across the board in this county. But, anyway, yeah, if it just maybe it'll but see, like I said, I have to be careful too, and we'd be closer to Nashville, so if I had to commute, it wouldn't be a problem, but, like, it's just interest rates and house prices are ridiculous right now. I'm not overpaying for a house at like an 8% interest rate or whatever they are. I don't know. They're probably like 5 or 6%. I'm probably over exaggerating, but it's ridiculous because the way the feds hike the interest rates. But like just buying a house I feel like you're overpaying for any house that people are buying right now. And unless the perfect opportunity came up on a house. And trust and believe if I bought another house, it would be a move-in ready house. Like, I love my house, the one I'm living in, but it is still needs work. And where I'm at, I'm way different physically than I was 10 years ago. The idea of trying to do work in this house just feels so much harder than it did when I first moved in. So I don't know. Anyway, they keep saying that, Loretta. I keep looking for it, just like the used car market. It's why we haven't bought a car yet, is the used car market's insane. Like, everything's way overpriced, all the interest rates are high. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, I don't want to buy any big ticket items right now because, like, just the prices are overinflated, and I keep hearing that one of these bubbles is gonna bust, and so far, no, the bubbles are busting. So, I try to keep in mind that if something good comes our way and so be it, it'll happen when it happens. It's been that way in the past. I shouldn't get so worked up over it, just like with my job. If it's, try not to worry too much about things like layoffs and stuff like that. Um yeah, it is. It's going to be major and I'm kind of hoping we're in a really good spot when that happens. Like, you know, I'm still working my job. My husband's still working. We've got, a nice pile of a nice savings to be able to put on a down payment and just yeah. But I don't know. A lot of things like we're going to have some real security in our feel like we have security in our jobs. And right now with the economy being what it is, I don't know if anybody feels real secure, to be quite honest. I mean, if you ask anybody in a lot of companies, nobody feels real comfortable right now. So, it's probably for the best. It's probably for the best. Well, and Loretta, they don't make it easy. I mean, it's when they say, like, people who make less and are in debt and stuff, they have to pay so much more. Like, when they say it costs people who make less more to live than it costs when it costs people that are more well off, they're absolutely right, and people don't understand that. Like, when you're struggling with like $20 for groceries in a week, you can't go bulk buy and save money on stuff. And you may be limited in your storage depending on your house and stuff. You can't go bulk buy, a bunch of stuff, save money for the long term. You only can buy the things that you need for that week, right? And if you're, depending on where you live, if you're not close to a Walmart or, there's a lot of people that have to grocery shop at places like Dollar Tree and the dollar store, and their stuff's crazy overpriced. There's this woman I follow on TikTok who does food on a budget from like the Dollar Tree. And she does these like meals on with only $20 for the week or only this or that and feeding like, multiple people and stuff. And like, it's amazing what she can do, but it's like also kind of like, how are we to that point? Like, and so if you don't have access to a place with cheaper food, you're in like a food desert type of situation. You and you're limited in how you can get to the store and stuff. You got to pay the prices of the place you can get to. So it's like it does. Life costs poor people far more than it does, people who are well off, and it's awful. I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. I wish I had some answers, But I just know that, particularly here in Tennessee, you got people making decisions over bills and food, and they're worried about passing laws about drag people in public, and it just stupid. It's so stupid. They're just not focused. And then they've got like $1 billion or millions of dollars in their rainy day fund that they've just been hoarding like a dragon hoards its gold, and they're proud of that. They brag about all this money that they have just sitting there, and they're not doing anything with it. And our foster kids in the state are sleeping in offices because they don't have enough we don't have enough social workers to go around because they all quit because the environment's terrible. They don't make enough money and they have too many cases. And it's like the report they put out, they don't have enough places to put these foster kids. They're sleeping in offices in Nashville, and then like they're putting them in hospital beds and stuff because they just don't have anywhere to put these kids. And it's like, so you're bragging about these millions of dollars you have that you're not doing anything with, like fucking it's the precious or something, and you have kids sleeping in offices right now, and you just sorry, it's getting late. Getting I'm getting to the point I'm starting to talk about stuff I was trying to avoid. So now is the time to go, I guess. And yeah, big ears, let me know. All right. Yeah, because it's almost 10. I need to go feed them. All right. So we had fun, hopefully tonight. Hopefully y'all had fun with my sermons that I got kind of ramped up on here. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody too much. Wasn't my intention. I'm just trying to be real with y'all. We use the color cube number 417 from the second cube. Added a few more colors to it. I used these really cool Touch Cocoa markers. And this is great because your reds and oranges are usually what's going to yellow. Your reds, oranges, and browns. So I'm going to put another paper in the front here. And I might put a fresh one in the back too. And we're going to check this at the end of the month to see if there's any yellowing. But so far, no yellowing on these markers. So I feel like they might be a bit of a bargain. So hi, Ellie. Welcome back. Um, I know, Loretta. You and me sync a lot on stuff. We are some blue dots in a red state. And yeah, Brittany, I saw that the other day. They're trying to push back on companies because that's all inflation's been, is been just profit for companies. They saw an opportunity because inflation was going up anyway. They decided to raise the cost. They had to I know some of the costs come from, you know, manufacturing issues, shipping issues, things like that. Like I'm not saying that all of it was pure profit. Like I know they had to raise it some, and I get that cuz just COVID being COVID. But I think then they said, "Hey, there's an opportunity here," and they just kept raising the prices. And the fact that they're just making millions and billions in profit, they're bragging about it, and nobody's like, um, thank you, Funky Light. I appreciate that. Um, but the fact they're bragging about it and like, um, what was I gonna say? They were grumbling, at, some of the companies, like big tech companies stuff, are grumbling because people aren't spending as much money on fancy tech products because 'cause they're too busy trying to buy groceries. When I saw a woman on TikTok who had got enough food for 1 week for one person, and she did it the year of COVID and got the receipt. It was like January of that year, and it was like $10 or something. She was able to get $10 at Walmart. She went the next year at the exact same time, got the same exact product, and it went up to like, I don't know, 12, $13. So it went up a certain percentage. She did the same thing this year, it went up to like 15 or $20. Like it was crazy. Like that to me jumped out at me as more of an evidence that how bad it's gotten. And that's what I was saying. So many people, their income is not going as far as it used to because they're having to spend it on groceries, and the cost of everything's going up. And so when you make these people who working remotely has saved them so much money in gas and maintenance. I can't tell y'all how much gas I, and car maintenance. I drove to Nashville for 4.5 years, and at that time it was only an hour and 15 one way. And the amount of gas I had to put in that car and how much wear and tear got on that car, like I just oh, it makes me so mad. It's like you're not giving these people any more money, but you're expecting them to spend more of what limited income. Okay, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna step off my stool for the night. I am so sorry, Loretta, about your computer. I'm maybe you can get there one day. Hopefully your laptop's still kicking it for you. Cornbread and pinto beans sounds pretty darn good. Yeah, Haley, it's crazy. I mean, we did a big run for us, and like I said, we cook all the time at home, and my husband's real big on, like, if I wasn't around, I'm pretty sure my husband would live on rice and beans for the rest of his life, like, rice, beans, oatmeal, and potatoes, but my husband's, like, got the runner's build, so, like, sugary carbs affect him, but not as much like rice and stuff. That kind of carb doesn't affect him as much. Like sugar's his danger zone, but um he can he would just survive. He'd live on that for the rest of his life. Like I'm the one that and pasta, like a pasta every Friday. Cuz he says he's a pastafarian. If you don't know what that is, go look that up. Um and partially tongue in cheek, partially true, to be quite honest. That man loves his pasta. But I'm the one that needs the variety. So like a lot of our purchases are staples, like big bags or but see, because we have the ability to do so, and we have the storage space, we buy a lot of things in bulk to save money, and we're really fortunate we can do that cuz not everybody can do that. So what we normally spend, like we spent like I was trying to think. I can't remember. It was a couple $100 or something, like, and we got a lot of stuff to last us for like months. And but like if we had to go and just buy all that without buying the stuff in bulk and stuff, it would have been double the price. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I know. A lot of people can't. And again, you're limited in a lot of places of where you have to shop, and a lot of those places don't have the bulk packaging. Like if you have a Sam's Club near you, you can take it. But fortunately, we can get some stuff delivered. But like having Amazon and having like a Sam's Club or a Costco helps. But again, not everybody has access to that. It is way more expensive. Like the less money you have, it is way. I feel like you spend more money to survive than you do when you have, like, money to buy in bulk and stuff. It's just it's ridiculous. I just okay, I gotta get off my soapbox. But I'm glad you guys enjoyed the chat, glad you enjoyed the picture. Glad I was able to get on here and talk with y'all. Went a lot longer than I thought it would, but it always does. Um, and I'm gonna go feed the cats, watch some Simpsons or Bad Batch tonight, I think, and then head off to bed. And tomorrow is probably gonna be my getting ready for the week thing. I might play some video games tomorrow. I don't know. I kind of want to color in the prehistoric miniatures book from Camellia Angel Cove. I might work on that tomorrow. But anyway, thank you guys. I hope y'all have a good rest of the night. Thank you so much for sticking around. Those of you that are lurking and still here, hopefully you hear this and y'all have a good night and love chatting with y'all. every time I say this, I need to do it more often, and hopefully, I don't know, maybe we will now because I'm doing fewer videos overall. Maybe at least once a month I can do one of these. So, y'all have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.